Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto parents have their own secrets that only each other know about. Part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. It was night time in Konoha, though one could be forgiven if you had said it was a warm summer's day. Konohagakure no Sato, the village hidden in the leaves, was under attack. The attacker was not the army of an enemy village, the attacker was not even human. It was a blood-red fox of monstrous proportions. The fox was by all definitions a demon, and as such had a fitting title, Kyubi no Yuko. The attack left the village in flames burning so bright, creating that illusion that night was day, the heat from these flames so intense that it could be felt all throughout the village. The fox had appeared 15 weeks ago for some unknown reason. It had been roaming the countryside, apparently in search of something. Then one fell night it started on a rampage, killing all who stood in its way. The ninja of Konoha were not simply going to let this demon destroy their home. Everything that they had worked so hard to rebuild after the war with the Wagakure would be for naught if the fox penetrated their line of defense. They fought with all the power they could muster, trying everything they knew to subdue the beast, but it was not enough. The monster was powerful, outrageously so. Nothing seemed to work. They soon realized that if anyone could bring the monster down, it would be the strongest in their village, the fourth Hokage. The fourth Hokage, Minato Namikaze, even had his own doubts about whether he could defeat the fox. He had discussed with his wife Kushina about his plan of attack when intelligence reports came through that the fox was on a rampaging path towards Konoha. Flashback. Minato-kun, what will you do? A worried Kushina asked her beloved. There was no immediate reply. A long silence followed as he thought his answer through carefully. Kushina waited patiently, a trait most uncharacteristic of her. I'm thinking that I may have to seal it. There doesn't seem to be any other way. The response, while definite, was not without pain. The sealing process was such that it required his life. Seal? She inquired through narrowed eyes. Into what? This is the Kyubi no Yuko that we are talking about here, not the Nibi, which is sealed into an iron ball, or the Ichibi, sealed into a kettle. It will simply break free if the prison does not have a will of its own to hold it at bay. The fox is simply too powerful. While mostly curious, she was slightly suspicious. What did her husband know of sealing methods that would allow him to be able to seal the most powerful of bijou? Minato drew a long breath before answering. Kushina-chan, I must seal it into a newborn baby 3 days old at the most. It is the only way. Kushina looked at the man she loved, though this look held no love. It was the one that she reserved for her most hated enemies. It was one that spoke of knowing unforgivable atrocities were committed by the soon-to-be dead. You cannot be serious. You would be damning that child to a life of misery, she asked with a rather sharp edge to her voice, currently thinking about her unborn baby and what would happen if that fate was thrust upon it. I have no choice. One sacrifice his or her life to save the rest. There was no anger in his voice, only regret and disappointment for the current course of action. She softened her gaze and then asked quietly, what if you and I? Minato interrupted. No, we are only mortal. There is nothing we can do. The sealing is the only method. Very well, what if aren't any babies born in the 3 days prior to the attack, then what? Seeing the apologetic look on Minato's face, a sudden wave of realization swept over her. No, you will not use our child. I will not subject our own flesh and blood to that. I'm nowhere near giving birth yet anyway. Kushina stood firm. We can induce the pregnancy. As it stands, we will be leaving behind an orphan, and I would trust no one else with such a burden. She was in shock. Orphan? What do you mean, orphan? The sealing, he hesitated lightly. The sealing will require my life. I must summon the Shinigami to consummate the sealing. She realized what he was saying. The bond that they shared was beyond the legal status of husband and wife. It was such that when one pair of the couple died, the other would die as well, so they would be united in the afterlife and the remaining person would not be left lonely. It took many days of arguing between Kushina and Minato before her resolve was finally broken and she agreed to have the sealing performed on their unborn baby. End flashback. That brings us back to the present. The Konoha ninja were no longer trying to kill the beast, merely slow it down, waiting for the fourth Hokage to arrive. Minato was in the hospital, holding his unconscious wife's hand as their child. A healthy young boy was removed, though cesarean section. After the procedure, the genjutsu used to place her in an unconscious state was removed, allowing her to hold her child for the first and only time. She was enthralled by his little hand grasping around her finger as she nursed him. She was brought out of her reverie by a deep voice. Kushina-heim, it's time. I must go and perform the sealing before any more lives are lost. Came Minato's voice, breaking into her thoughts. Then he leant over and said in a voice so low that only she could hear. "I'll see you on the other side, Minato-koi," was Kushina's simple reply. In a streak yellow that had earned him the title of Konoha's Yellow Flash, the Yondaime Hokage had disappeared to the battlefield, knowing that his death would be the price for the victory he was about to achieve. When he got to the battlegrounds, then was a unanimous cry from the ninja that their leader had arrived, that their shining hope had come to save the day, cheering him to victory. Minato heard none of this. When he arrived, he was in shock. Never had he imagined the scale of destruction he was viewing. He was a man that had killed an enemy army on his own, and yet to him this was even worse. Every sense was informing him of the tragedy that had occurred. The feeling of a blood-soaked ground squelching as he walked, the sound of dying comrades that were not granted the mercy of a swift and painless death, the smell of burning flesh, the taste of the smoke thick in the air from all of the fires, and the sight of hundreds upon hundreds of lifeless bodies, ripped into shreds, burnt, flattened by the fox's great paws, all dyed red with blood. A man that appeared much too old to be on the battlefield approached him. "Minato-kun, are you sure that this is for the best? You could teach me the hand signs for the Justu and allow me to take your place?" Sarutobi, the previous Hokage, had asked. "No, old man, this is my responsibility. I will not shirk from my duties as Hokage." The tone of his voice indicated a will of steel that would likely never be changed. "Jiraiya-sensei, Kakashi-kun, please watch over him and if possible teach him a trick or two," he said as he addressed two men that appeared with the previous Hokage, Jiraiya, a man in his mid-40s with a flowing mane of white hair, and Kakashi, a boy in his mid-late teens with a cloth mask over the bottom half of his face and a mop of silver hair. After they both gave their solemn promise to do all that they could for the boy, Minato summoned Gambunta, the Toad Boss. "Minato, if I'm not much mistaken, that's the Kyuubi. Don't tell me you seriously intend on taking on the most powerful of the Bijou?" Gambunta's deep rumbling voice was heard all throughout the battlefield. "Afraid so, boss. I need you to keep him busy and me out of his reach while I make the final preparations for the sealing," was the reply and request by Minato. "I will do what I can," was the only reply that Minato received, for Gambunta had already jumped into the fray to occupy the fox, ninjato drawn. The fox turned to be more than a tough adversary for the Toad Boss. Every time the fox was open and Gambunta had a clear shot at it, it would simply swing its tails in defense, tails said to be able to cause tsunamis and crush mountains. While there was no large body of water to test this out on, and the nearest mountain was Hokage Monument, miles away in Konoha, the widespread destruction seen in the forest trees was more than enough reason to make Gambunta try to dodge the blows instead of block. Then Minato's voice rang through the sound of battle. "It's ready! Kyuubi no Yuko, I can't kill you but I can still seal you soul. Goodbye, you pitiful creature! Shiki Fuin!" he screamed. Visible to only Minato and the Kyuubi, a spectral entity appeared behind Minato, the Shinigami. It plunged its hand into the Kyuubi and tore out its soul, placing it into the stomach of the newly born Naruto, where an intricate pattern appeared on his stomach. As his last words, he spoke to Naruto. "Naruto, please forgive your father for the burden I have placed on you. I'm sorry for preventing you from meeting either of your parents, but this had to be done. Goodbye, my son." The surrounding ninja couldn't see what was happening. All they knew was that the Kyuubi had disappeared. They started to rejoice, the crisis finally over. The rejoicing was brought to an abrupt end when their Hokage voice screamed out in pain. Sarutobi, Jiraiya and Kakashi all knew what was happening and tried as best they could to hold back their tears, but it was in vain. They could not, and they finally allowed their tears to freely fall down their face. Just as suddenly as the screaming had started, the screaming ended. Minato, falling off of Gambunta's head, was caught in Jiraiya's arms as the little bundle of cloth that was Naruto was caught in Kakashi's arms. Sarutobi had the responsibility of holding the crowd at bay, telling them that this was neither the time nor the place to answer all of their questions. Gambunta was able to shed a single tear before he dispelled to the summoning realm, as there was no human to anchor him to this realm. It had already been decided that Sarutobi would once again take up the reins and become the Hokage after Minato had died from the ceiling. He had clearly stated that questions could be asked later and any that were not of a classified nature would be answered. He was glad he had made that decision, as he realized that, overcome with grief, he could hardly answer the questions that would have been asked even if he wanted to. In the hospital, the nurse that had been assigned to look after Kushina was suddenly alerted as the hospital machines alerted her to the fact that there were no signs of life from the one they were attached to. Slightly panicked, she rushed to the room to find Kushina lying in bed deathly still. She hit the emergency button, calling for other nurses. Other nurses and 2 doctors rushed into the room, intent on doing all they could to revive the Hokage's wife. After 20 minutes of failed attempts, she was declared dead by one of the doctors at 12:14 a.m. on October the 11th, just hours after giving birth to Naruto. with the death following the cesarean section so closely it was assumed that she died giving birth to Naruto as the strain of the operation was too much, resulting in her death. Sarutobi had arrived at his office in the Hokage Tower and found on his desk 2 envelopes. One addressed to him and another addressed to Naruto. Curious, he opened the one to him, and almost dropped it when he realized from whom it came. It was a letter from Minato. It read, Sarutobi. Or perhaps Hokage-sama is a more appropriate title now. In any case, there are some issues that I need to inform you of after my death. The first concerns the letter that is addressed to Naruto. It contains an explanation to Naruto as to why I did this to him. This includes explanation of his heritage. It also contains my last words to him and some advice on how to live his life. It also contains a letter from Kushina, his mother, as by the time you read this she will also be dead. I will explain this in greater detail later. It has some information about the both of us so that he may have some understanding about who his parents were. Also, sealed within the letter are scrolls from both my clan and Kushina's clan, both of being the last of our kind. This is protected by a blood seal so that only Naruto's blood can open it. I can only pray that more devious minds will not cut Naruto in order to see the information contained within those scrolls. Naruto's letter must be given to him when he becomes a genin. He has trials to prepare for that only he can face. How do I know that he even wants to be one? It's not a choice really. If he wants to be considered clan head in either my clan or Kushina's clan, he needs to be able to fight and fight very well. Finally, I said that I would explain why Kushina is dead. Here goes. Kushina and I were bound by more than the simple laws of Konoha when we married. The laws of both our clan were invoked and created a bond between us. Simply put, when one feels pain, so does the other, and when one feels joy, the same occurs. This holds true in death as well, and when one half dies, so does the other, so that they may be united wherever they go and that they will not feel loneliness in the other's absence after death. My last words to you are first of all a request. Please try to have Naruto seen as a hero by the village. I have every confidence that this can happen, though Kushina does not share my sentiment. Look after my village, old man, and good luck with all the paperwork. Yours truly, Minato Namikaze. Sarutobi was floored by then information, shocked that Naruto was now an orphan. Sarutobi let out a long sigh. It was only his first hour back and already he had to deal with crap that he really would have rather not have to. It was necessary to tell the council that the Hokage was dead and that the Kyuubi had been sealed and not killed. He thought sadly. This is going to cause uproar amongst the villagers, I just know it. Sadly, I think that I have to agree with Kushina. They are not going to be as generous as he thinks they will be. In the council chambers, all of the clan heads were present as well as the council elders Danzo, Hamura, and Koharu. There was unrest amongst the ranks, all owing to the simple rumor that the fourth Hokage was dead. Koharu was first to call Sarutobi on this. Sarutobi, what's this nonsense that everyone is spouting? The fourth Hokage being dead? The aged Hokage had to compose himself before answering. First of all, you must address me as Sarutobi-sama or Hokage-sama now, because it is not nonsense, the fourth Hokage is dead. Koharu gaped like a stunned mullet before finally getting her voice back and softly asking how? He was fighting the Kyuubi no Yuko, an immortal being of immense power. Surely you didn't expect a mere mortal, no matter how strong, to prevail with his life intact, no less? She was summarily silenced, only for another voice to join the conversation. Hokage-sama, it was Shibi Aburame, ever careful to be respectful of one above his post. You said that it was not possible for him to defeat an immortal being regardless of whether he lived or died, yet he achieved the feat. Would you mind divulging how? It was time to bite the bullet, and Sarutobi knew it. He didn't defeat it, not in the true sense of the word anyway. The beast was sealed into a newborn baby. There was an upsurge of outrage from many of the present council members asking for the name and whereabouts of this child, many calling for its execution. This was all silenced by the Hokage. Quiet! There will be no such travesty of justice while I am Hokage, he roared above the racket. The demon is simply a wolf in lamb's clothing. It could break out and destroy us, or even use that body of the child as a conduit for its actions. The voice belonged to Fugaku Uchiha. There was also a murmur of agreement from the rest of the crowd. There was a sudden outburst from one of the other clan heads. That is a very flawed line of thinking, Uchiha-san. It was Shikaku Nara, with the most uncharacteristic outburst. Explain, was the very sharp retort from Fugaku. Better yet, I'll demonstrate, and proceeded to seal a kunai into a scroll. He gave the sealed kunai to Fugaku, and then stated, "Now kill me using that sealed kunai." There was a gasp from the audience as Fugaku had unsealed the kunai and was charging towards the Nara clan head, only for him to stop in his tracks a few meters from Shikaku due to being caught by his cage main jutsu. What's the matter? Had second thought about dying here? Fugaku taunted. I said kill me with the sealed kunai, not unseal the kunai, and kill me, he replied evenly, sounding almost bored. There is no difference, Fugaku snarled. Of course there is. If we liken the situation to Naruto, he is the scroll and the kyubi is the kunai. The container cannot kill me, but the imprisoned certainly could, explained Shikaku. Ha, you have just proven my point. The sealed can kill us, and just as this kunai was unsealed, so too can the kyubi be unsealed, Fugaku shouted in triumph. Think about what you just said. Who unsealed the kunai? You did. Shikaku's voice cut through Fugaku's apparently premature celebration. Get to your point, Fugaku stated icily, leveling a glare at the Nara clan head. Quite simply, the only reason the seal became a threat was because someone with knowledge unsealed it. Meaning that if no one tampers with the seal containing the kyubi, then we are safe. All we have to do is ensure that no one tries to do anything so foolish. Fugaku fumed. He knew he was beaten, but more importantly the Nara head had just made him lose face in front of the council, more importantly the Hyuga, the Uchiha's only rival clan within the village. The Hokage, on the other hand, well, he was elated. Simply overjoyed that other people could see past the demon sealed into the boy and realize that he was only a human. Perhaps there was hope after all. Danzo had observed the conversation for long enough. Now it was time for him to put forth his own ideas and potentially further his own agenda. Hokage-sama, if the boy has such a powerful resource at his disposal, then would it not be wise to train him to make the most of it? He inquired. Before you even try to recruit Naruto to that rude program of yours, there will be no such thing happening today. As it stands, I have half a mind to disband the group now. However, we were called here for different purpose, so we will stick to the task at hand, Sarutobi stated, destroying any hopes Danzo may have had of acquiring a new and powerful weapon to brainwash into being a loyal servant. If I may be so bold, Hokage-sama, can I inquire who the parents of the boy are? The question was voiced by Hayashi Hyuga, head of the Hyuga clan. The boy is an orphan, both parents killed through the course of the Kyubi's attack, Sarutobi answered. While it wasn't what the council wanted to hear, it was not a lie. He could only hope that they assumed that it was a civilian child, or at best the child of two jounin, not the son of the most powerful ninja to have lived, and his wife, a former whirlpool legend. Finally it was Hamura's turn to speak up. Hokage-sama, we must still alert the village as to what is living amongst them. And what is living amongst them, Hamura-san? Asked Sarutobi rather testily. A demon, was the shout from one of the council members. Sarutobi leveled a glare that promised death. The council member audibly gulped and returned to his station. We have already determined that he is no more a demon than that scroll is the sealed kunai. His words were icy as his stare still seemed to linger on the council member. Nonetheless, Hokage-sama, you have called us here to inform us that the kyubi was sealed and not killed. If you weren't here to tell us who it was sealed into, then why even bother to convene us? Hamura replied. The Hokage could not deny the truth in his words. He had essentially told the council nothing and realized that he'd indeed have to proffer the name. Naruto, he hesitated slightly, not wanting to open another can of worms that could occur if he used the name Namikaze Naruto Uzumaki, he said, opting to give Naruto his mother's maiden name. Not that it should matter, it was the Yandame's dying wish that he be viewed as a hero. However, seeing the reaction that Fugaku just had is more than to give me grounds to believe that this won't happen. Sarutobi continued, while still silently hoping that more people would share Shikaku's point of view. Now that everything is out in the open and that you have all been made aware of the situation with the kyubi, the death of the Yandame, and my reinstatement as the Hokage, there is nothing further that needs to be said at this meeting. Let us all go back to what is left of our families and try to get a night of rest before we mourn for our lost ones. It was at times like this that Sarutobi truly felt his age, and he gave his advice to the members of the council in a solemn and somewhat subdued tone. Sarutobi was in the middle of going home when a sudden thought had occurred to him. Minato and Kushina had gone to extraordinary lengths to conceal her pregnancy, yet they had to let someone in on the secret, namely the people who tended to them through their stay in the hospital. He quickly changed route and arrived at Konoha General Hospital a short while later. He went to the head of the hospital and requested and all staff that we involved in the care of Kushina and her unborn baby, from the doctor and surgeon that performed the operation to the cleaners responsible for cleaning the private room. A short while later, everyone who was originally grumbling about being called in at the current hour quickly silenced themselves as they realized that they were in the presence of a previous Hokage. When everyone was settled, Sarutobi began talking. Thank you all for gathering here at this ungodly hour, the effort is appreciated. It has come to my attention that all of you have in some way had contact with Kushina and Minato through the period of Kushina's pregnancy. I must ask you to never, ever reveal this information to anyone. Minato is viewed as a hero in our village for his efforts through the IWA Konoha War. As a result, he is also regarded as a demon and a dealer of death to IWA and their allies Kumo. If either of these two countries were to discover Minato's heir, they would send a squad to perform an assassination immediately. Many were sobered by this information. It is for this reason that I must classify this information as an S-rank secret of our village. The penalty for divulging such information is death not only to the party responsible for telling the secret, but also to the recipient of the information, so think very carefully before betraying my trust. There was a nod of assent from the group of people he was addressing, and he took it that everyone understood the gravity of the situation. With nothing left to say, he dismissed them, and warily he thought that he would also have to speak to Kakashi and Jiraiya about this as well. He was sorely tempted to leave the task till morning, though he knew that his laziness would come back to bite him, so he grudgingly made the trip to Kakashi's house first. He knew where Jiraiya could be found. When he got to Kakashi's front door, and it was answered by the youth, all he said was, "Come with me, I have something to discuss with you and Jiraiya." Well, who was Kakashi to refuse such an invitation? When the Kage spoke, you damn well listened. A short while later found them outside the Namikaze clan grounds. While not quite as big as either the Hyuga or Uchiha clan compounds, it was still quite a large area. Jiraiya was found inside the main house, looking weary after a long night, and now tending to Naruto. Once he had the attention of both men, he began. "I know you two know that this is Minato's son. In fact, it's for that very reason that I have called you here. I want you to keep this a secret. You can easily understand the trouble it would cause if either Kumo or IWA found out he is Minato's heir. The hospital staff are already aware of this, and I have classed it as an S-rank secret. I'm sure I don't have to explain the implications." Both men shook their heads, affirming that they knew that if they told the secret they would pay with their lives. Now that he had taken care of all business that needed immediate attention, he was left to simply shunch into his clan home and sleep, preparing for tomorrow. 3 days later saw a service held for those who have bravely fought and lost their lives in the battle against the Kyuubi. It was the place that Sarutobi announced his reinstatement as the Hokage. He gave a speech, trying to lift the morale of the people he was to lead once more. People of Konoha, 3 days ago we were dealt a very severe blow. We lost friends, comrades and family members. We also lost a great leader. The Yondaime was a great man and will be forever missed. Giving his life for the prospect of saving this village and defeating the Kyuubi is a feat that only Minato Namikaze would be capable of. Through his sacrifice, we realized just how strong the will of fire was within him. We must look to his sacrifice and display of his will as inspiration to rebuild and create a better tomorrow. The people clapped politely in appreciation for Sarutobi's effort is raising their morale. Sarutobi noticed the tension amongst the members of the crowd and wondered what had them so tense, until one of them spoke up and asked, "Hokage-sama, are the rumors true? Are the rumors that the Kyuubi was sealed and not killed true?" One person asked amongst the 1,000 or so that were gathered. Sarutobi cursed under his breath. What idiotic council member had decided to let that information leak out? "Hokage-sama, people are saying that the Kyuubi was sealed into a boy. What if it breaks free? What if it uses Naruto to kill all of us?" Now the Hokage was livid. Who the hell had the foresight of telling a group of distraught villagers that the one for their pain was sealed inside something as fragile as a human baby? He had decided that they had better hear the truth straight from the source, rather than getting some garbled version that was most likely tailored to suit the purposes of the one spreading the rumor. Yes, it's true, the demon is sealed within baby. The Kyuubi was too powerful, even for Minato. So he did the only thing he knew that had the best possibility of working, he sealed it. "And what has been done about it?" asked another face in the crowd. Slightly confused, but hoping that this wasn't leading where he thought it was, he asked, "And what should be done?" "It needs to be killed," was the swift reply from yet another crowd member, almost instantly followed by further shouts demanding similar actions or nods of approval. "The Kyuubi is sealed in the child, not reincarnated as it," the Hokage shouted out above the noise, frustrated by the close-mindedness of the people he had chosen to lead once again. "The thing could escape, or use him directly to hurt us," with a counter-argument. "Do you have such little faith in the Yondaime as to suggest that his method would fail us when he gave his very life to ensure our safety? Not to mention that he called upon the power of the Shinigami in order to seal the Kyuubi away? It's not that we have a lack of faith in either the Shinigami or the Yondaime, or that we underestimate them, it's just that this is the Kyuubi no Yuko. The Yondaime was only human, subject to mistakes, and we don't know which is stronger and seal-bound by the Shinigami, or a demon's will to live and escape, so to prevent any harm, he should be killed." Sarutobi looked into the crowd and saw many faces reflecting support for the words spoken before he laid down the law, quite literally. This child will not get a chance with the lot of you, and I cannot simply make a law stating that you must like him. So this is a new law that I am laying down now and putting into effect immediately in order to give Naruto some chance of a normal life in his later years. No person is to mention the fact that Naruto has the QB to anyone. This means that it cannot be mentioned in public, nor can it be discussed in the privacy of one's own home. Yes, that includes warning your children of it, as they need not know. This to be considered an S-rank secret. For the civilians in the gathering, this means that any utterance of this issue in any fashion will result in execution. There were gasps of shock from the crowd at how harsh the penalty was. Secondly, any attempts to take justice into your own hands and kill Naruto will be met with the same punishment, death. This is final. Realizing that there was nothing further to be said and that Sarutobi's mind could not be swayed on the matter, the congregation broke up, returning to trying to rebuild their lives. As they left to go about their business, Sarutobi looked to the back of the gathering, seeing Naruto in the arms of Jiraiya, thinking, the next few years are gonna be long as hell. Minato-kun, I'm sorry they disregarded your last wish. 4 years later. He was running. He didn't know why. No, he knew why he was running. If they caught him, then they would make him suffer, do painful things to him. What he didn't know was why they were chasing. He didn't dare stop to ponder. He had learned that talking did nothing, only evasion, till the old man came. Why was today any different from any other day? Usually they just settle for ignoring him, shooing him out of their shops and shielding other children from him. The old man had said it was his birthday today. Weren't people supposed to be nice to you on your birthday? These were the thoughts running through Naruto's head as he ran from a group of drunk and enraged villagers. His feet pounded the pavement as he desperately struggled to get away from his pursuers. He was fortunate for the many nooks, crannies, broken fences that were around in this district. They gave him ample room to hide while the adults chasing him, or else a quick thoroughfare to another alleyway, while they were either forced to climb over or find a different route if they still wanted to harm him. While he was running, he wasn't paying too much care to his surroundings. He turned a corner, blindly hoping that the old man would come and rescue him. After turning the corner, his face blanched. It was a dead end, and no one of those broken down fences so common in this area, but a solid brick wall, impossible to get around. He turned around in the hopes that he would still have enough time to back out and try to continue his escape. He had no such luck, as the pursuers were already upon him, each with an evil leer on their face. "Looky what we have here," one of their number said to his accomplices, a slight slur of alcohol affecting his speech. "The demon has gone and trapped itself in an alleyway." The man finished with a slightly crazed look about his face. Another spoke up, this time a woman. "It's even decided to take us to some weapons to help us finish the Yondame's good work." She grinned maniacally, casting a look about the alleyway and spotting some broken glass bottles as well as some broken plumbing pipes that looked ready to be ripped out of their moorings. Anything that could be used as a weapon was taken up and swung, just to get a feel of the thing. Then it started. Blood-curdling screams could be heard from ages away, as Naruto desperately tried to protect himself by curling up into a ball and covering his head. His screams for mercy were ignored by the group. "This is for all the friends and family we lost. Feel the pain we are giving you and know that it will never compare to the pain you caused us. We will never get our loved ones back this time," a boy in his late teens snarled at Naruto while viciously slashing with a broken bottle. The crowd by this stage was growing frustrated. He was just simple not dying, more proof that he was a demon after all. What normal human child could take such a beating and still move, much less scream "I agony"? Had they been more composed, they would have noticed that the cuts and bruises that they were dealing him were healing almost as fast as they were delivered, only to be replaced by fresh ones. "Hold him still," one of them grunted. The others did as they were asked. "Well, this is a demon, no one can survive without air." He promptly slashed a shard of glass across Naruto's trachea. At that point the air around them felt like it had gone completely frigid. It was a pressure so unbearable it was hard to breathe. They turned and looked for the source. A man with a mop of silver hair wearing standard Konoha Jounin attire was standing before them. He had a cloth face mask and his hataide covering his left eye. Kakashi was livid. "What in the hell do you think you are doing?" One of the crowd stammered a weak response. "We are finishing what the Yondaime SD started, and what you and Ninja are too weak to finish. We are killing the demon." Kakashi's eyes narrowed. "You have been made aware that the demon is sealed in Naruto, and that they are not one and the same. You would also be aware of the Hokage's hard-line stance on issues regarding Naruto. As it stands, I need to get him to medical attention immediately, so I can't take you to Ibiki for questioning." There was a collective sigh of relief. Everyone, even civilians, knew of Ibiki's sadism, well, him and his protege Anko. Kakashi continued, no, your punishment will be administered immediately, you will be executed for your crimes. He drew a kunai from the holster on his leg, and before the civilians even realized he had moved, he was amongst their number, killing them with cold efficiency. Once he was done, he rushed over to Naruto to inspect the damage. Kami-sama above, what have they done to you? He said to himself. Naruto opened a heavily bruised eye, and all that he could see was a shock of silver, lost of blue and a little pink, probably skin, before he passed out. Kakashi was preparing to shunshin him to the hospital when he stopped to take notice of the cuts that were healing on his body. The Kyuubi is healing him, he idly though before shunshining to the hospital. He didn't bother to even try the general admittance. He shunshined directly into a room that was specifically set up for Naruto. He had been through this before and knew what to do. He hit the emergency button that called for a special team of doctors and nurses. It also linked to the Hokage's office so that the Hokage would be alerted any time the room was in use, as the room was reserved for Naruto alone. Not 20 seconds later, a group of men and women walked in and wasted no time in getting to work. The Hokage shunshined in shortly after. Kakashi, report. He stated in a voice that commanded authority. He was attacked by a group of villagers. Hokage-sama, was the swift reply. And of the villagers? Sarutobi further inquired. All dead, sir. There wasn't time to bring Naruto here and take them in for questioning. Rather than let them get off scot-free, I took the best course of action I could think of and killed them on the spot. Their remains are still in the alleyway. Very well then, I'll put Itachi on clean-up duty then. You have done well. They watched in silence as the medics went about doing their job of healing Naruto. Kakashi finally broke the silence. Hokage-sama, I've been meaning to ask, where did you find a group of medics so willing to treat Naruto? This group of people are the ones that cared for Kushina through her stay in the hospital, while she was carrying Naruto. They never saw Naruto as the demon inside of him as they saw him being born, understanding that he is indeed human. I see. Was the only reply he received. Once the medic Neens had done all that they could, a doctor by the name of Megumi Takani, from Rurouni Kenshin, no I don't own it, approached the two men but addressed the Hokage more specifically. He needs rest. He has been through a lot tonight, and even though the physical damage is mostly repaired, he still needs to recover from the emotional damage. We will continue to monitor his progress, and let you know of any changes to his condition. As a final observation, the Kyuubi's chakra healed most of the damage before we could. By the time Hataki-san had brought him in here, most of the wounds were healed or well on their way to being closed over. Sarutobi answered slowly, very well, I will wait here till he has regained consciousness. Kakashi, could you and Itachi Uchiha please go and clean up the mess before some innocent child stumbles across it? At once, Hokage-sama. Even if the Hokage had wanted to, he wouldn't have got another word in as Kakashi shined away almost immediately. Strange, he thought he is late for nearly everything, and yet when he feels like it he can perform tasks with the swiftness of the wind. White. That was all he saw when he opened his eyes. It couldn't be his room in the orphanage. The room was so dirty that the walls were caked in black filth. He looked around to see the old man talking to a young woman. He remembered her face. She was one of the few that were nice to him. There was the old man, some people at the hospital, old man Ichiraku and his daughter Ayame, and hopefully now the strange figure that had saved him last night would be able to join that list. The Hokage watched patiently as Naruto roused himself from his sleep. Idly looking at him over the hours, he realized quite a number of things. The most obvious was that Naruto truly looked like his father. How no one in the village had picked up on it yet was beyond his understanding. While thinking of Minato, he was reminded about the letter he was left. Naruto's letter must be given to him when he becomes a genin. He has trials to prepare for that only he can face. How do I know that he even wants to be one? It's not a choice really. If he wants to be considered clan head in either my clan or Kushina's clan, he needs to be able to fight, and fight very well. Sarutobi pondered the point for a while before coming to realize that even without the requirement to need to fight well to lead the clan, he was going to need some form of training if he wanted to live to see his 5th birthday. Nothing too serious. Perhaps just introduce him to the basic bunshin and taijutsu style used in Konoha's ninja academy, as well as kawarimi and henge. These things could help him survive and escape the rampant crowds long enough for either him or his ANBU to arrive. Naruto, are we feeling better? He was originally going to ask, are you alright? But it seemed like a stupid question after nearly being beat to death. I'm feeling better, though I really wish that I knew why they pick on me so much, Aji-san. Sarutobi looked back at him sadly and said, I wish I knew too, Naruto-kun. They have no reason to do when they do to you. He had answered the question without being too specific, something that he had to do more and more these days. He knew the day was fast approaching when he could not be so vague. In any case, at the moment it seemed to work as Naruto was satisfied that he was not at fault. Naruto, I've been thinking, how would you like to start training as a ninja? Sarutobi asked cautiously. When he saw Naruto's eyes light up, he realized just what he had gotten himself into. Are you serious, Aji-san? Like training me to move super fast? Or are you training me to hide in the shadows? Or like teaching me ultra awesome, super cool jutsu? Sarutobi had to hold his hand to stem the flow of questions that were coming thick and fast. Now Naruto had asked the questions, he realized that he would have to decide what to have taught to Naruto by his sensei. Higher ranking jutsu was out of the question, not until he got far more control of his chakra. Otherwise, using high-level jutsu could have catastrophic effects, particularly considering how high his chakra reserves could be, with his father being who he was and the fox adding to them. We will discuss that with your sensei when the time comes. For now, you need to rest. Do you have any special requests for food? Ichiraku's ramen, he shouted at the top of his lungs. The Sandaime had to twiddle his finger in his ear. Apparently he looked like his father but had his mother's behavior to deal with. As a certain Nara would put it, this could be troublesome. You rest for now. When you wake up again, your sensei will be waiting here for you with bowl of ramen you seem to love so much. Naruto threw himself at the old Hokage, wrapping his arms around his neck, practically screaming, "Thank you, Aji-san. You're the best." After Sarutobi had regained some semblance of hearing after and made sure that Naruto was asleep, he shined out to his office. Once there, he summoned one of his ANBU, Ox appeared before him. Go find Kakashi Hatake and tell him that when he is done cleaning up that I wish to speak with him. At your command, Hokage-sama. And promptly left to complete his assigned task. Sarutobi was left to his own thoughts as H waited for Kakashi to finish his duties before arriving. He sat there and looked at a picture of his late successor on the wall, and thought to himself. Minato, what would you think of your village if you could see what they did, what they still do to your son? After nearly an hour lost in thought, Kakashi eventually shined into the office. That took a surprisingly long time considering both you and Itachi were assigned. Were there really that many bodies? Sarutobi asked, genuinely interested. No, there weren't that many bodies. I finished shortly after getting the message, but there was a chain of black cats walking across the city. I had to leave the city if I didn't want to cross their path. A vein pulsed in Sarutobi's forehead. He truly didn't know what was more irritating, Kakashi's tardiness, or his lies, which were obvious to even the youngest of children. In any case, I've called you here to ask you to be a sensei. Sarutobi decided to let his frustration go for the time being. I don't know why you bother asking me every time. No team has ever met my expectations. It's not likely that anything is about to change now. It isn't a team I want you to train, it's an individual, Sarutobi said with a grin. I want you to train Naruto. Naruto? In what? Ballet. Sarutobi answered in a completely serious voice. The ninja arts, of course. What else? Sarutobi's voice now had a hint of irritation to it. Right, of course. Yes, sorry. Kakashi at least had the decency to feel a little ashamed of his stupid question. I want you teaching him the basic academy jutsu taijutsu. Also, we need to have him learn about stealth. Not only will it prove useful both now, while trying to hide from villagers till we get there, it will be vital throughout his ninja career. Hopefully it will also help him to quieten down a little. Sarutobi added on as afterthought, thinking about his still ringing ears. Very well, I'll accept. I'll go to the hospital and meet him. He hasn't really met me yet, Kakashi announced to the Hokage. Very good, but you will need to stop at Ichiraku's. I promised him his sensei would bring him some for when he woke up, Sarutobi added with a sheepish look about his face. Kakashi, cursing the need to go across the city and then track back with ramen in his hands, shined out of the office to appear almost an instant later outside Ichiraku's ramen stand. He got there and ordered 2 packs of miso to go before holding them both in one hand in order to perform the half ram with the other necessary to shin to Naruto's room. Kakashi, looking around, realized that Naruto was still asleep, placed the ramen on the bedside table and turned to close the door to the room. In the time that he turned, he heard furious slurping, lips smacking followed by a large belch. By the time he turned back, he noticed that both packs of miso ramen were missing and there was a very content-looking Naruto propped up against the wall, still sitting in bed. Weren't you asleep a second ago? Kakashi asked incredulously. Yep, was the bright reply. The smell of ramen woke me up, he clarified. Still in shock, Kakashi went on, trying to maintain some level of composure. Right, well, Hokage-sama should have told you that you were going to get an instructor for the ninja arts. Well, that's me. My name is Kakashi. You can call me Kakashi-sensei, seeing as I will be teaching you. Cool, so what are you gonna teach me? Some really powerful fighting style? Ultra speed? How to make dragons out of air? Kakashi couldn't get a word in. He finally started when Naruto had run out of breath. I will teach you how to hide really well. We're gonna make you a lot faster. We're only gonna learn a few things, and they are things you would learn from the academy anyway. But I really wanted to learn lots of cool things like how to beat a person with the flick of a finger. Kakashi thought at the back of his mind, well, if you can get Lady Tsunade to teach you, then you might be able to. In the middle of his wandering mind, he thought of a brilliant way to get Naruto to cooperate. Naruto, how does this sound? If you can learn everything that the Hokage wants me to teach you, then I will teach you an awesome move. Sound fair? What's the name of the move? Every awesome move has an awesome name. Kakashi pondered the point for a second before deciding on the name. It's called the Super Awesome, Ultra Flashy Jutsu. Kakashi looked at Naruto, who now appeared to have stars in his eyes at the prospect of learning something so awesome. Alright then, you got yourself a deal, Kakashi-sensei. Kakashi smiled. He took it hook, line, and sinker. You're due to be released tomorrow morning, so I will pick you up from here. With nothing further left to say to each other, Kakashi left Naruto so he could rest up for tomorrow, leaving him free to pursue other activities. There was a very good book that the bookstore had just released that he wanted to buy, giving perverted giggle as he thought of his purchase to be. Morning couldn't come fast enough for Naruto. By the time Kakashi had arrived, he was literally bouncing off of the walls, telling anyone who would listen that he was going to learn to be a ninja as well as the super awesome, ultra flashy jutsu. It probably would have helped the hospital staff had Kakashi actually shown up when Naruto was discharged, rather than turning up 2 hours afterwards. Alright Naruto, time to commence your training. Do you know where the stream is? The one just near the hospital? After receiving a nod of confirmation, he continued, I want you to race me there. Of course it was not a true race. Kakashi, being a jounin of the village, could have beaten him there without even raising more than a hand. Ah yes, Shunshin was a lovely thing. It was much easier to get him to work if he was having fun while doing it. By the next time he looked down, Naruto was already down the hall, cackling like a madman about how he was going to beat his sensei in a race. Kakashi kept tabs on him as he raced through the village, towards the stream. It would not do well to have him attacked again. As he kept watch, he took note of the glares that nearly every villager sent at Naruto. The ones that didn't glare completely disregarded him, as though he wasn't there. Ignoring him, almost as bad as actively harassing him, Kakashi thought. When they both arrived at the stream, Naruto was the first to speak. So, what are we going to do here, Kakashi-sensei? We are first going to get to know each other beyond names. I'll start. You know my name, it's Kakashi. Likes, reading, my dislikes. Well, I can't really think of anything off the top of my head, and my dream for the future, I'll tell you when you're older. Kakashi said the last part without the usual traces of a perverted tone usually present in his voice when discussing such matters, indication that he might actually be serious about what he was talking about, though Naruto was too young for him to understand. Now you turn. Well, you know that my name is Naruto Uzumaki. My likes are ramen and people that are nice to me. My dislikes are the time that it takes for ramen to be cooked and people that are mean to me. Dream for the future. Kakashi interrupted, you don't have to have one yet, but I would appreciate that if you do get a dream, then you tell me, then I'll know that you are ready to hear my dream for the future. Naruto simply nodded. I am going to teach you how to swim, Kakashi suddenly announced. I thought you were gonna teach me something cool, like how to walk on water. Naruto whined, not realizing that it actually was possible to walk on water. Nope, swimming, while strictly speaking, isn't a shinobi skill, is still vital for survival. What would happen if the Hokage gave you a mission someday that involved you getting wet in something deeper than a bath? I wouldn't be able to do it. Naruto realized that this is important. Kakashi gave one of his eye smiles and said, Naruto, we are gonna do some things that may not seem like they will help right away, but trust me when I say that they will be useful later on. Now strip to your boxers and I'll do the same so we are ready to get in the water. And so the lesson began. It wasn't all easy going. At first Naruto wasn't overly confident of being in the unfamiliar, and wasn't too particularly trusting of Kakashi not to let him go, and simply allow him to drown. In Kakashi's opinion, this was hardly surprising considering the track record he had with misplaced trust in the villagers. By the end of the hour, Kakashi had Naruto laying flat on the water, rather than in an upright sit position. He was also surprised to see that his legs were performing the correct kicking motion rather than seeing the running motion that so many children display when learning to swim. Naruto, that's enough for swimming today. I think we should do something else while we dry off. Naruto obediently followed Kakashi along the water's edge till they were in a small clearing. He didn't seem to have the usual spring in his step, probably just tiredness from the swimming. What now, sensei? Asked Naruto, eager to learn more. He was soon learning that Kakashi was becoming someone he could trust. When Kakashi had said that he wouldn't let go in the water, he didn't. When Kakashi said he was going to let go and catch him again in a short while, he did. It seemed that when he gave his word, he kept it. We are going to meditate. This is for 2 reasons. The first is that we need to unlock your chakra in order for you to do the jutsu you so want to learn. The second reason is that we can dry off before we put our clothes back on. To himself, Kakashi thought of the third reason. Hopefully it will calm him down and get him to stop bouncing around all of the time. How do I meditate, sensei? Naruto asked. You simply need to still and try to relax. While you are doing this for today, I want you to focus on finding a warmth within you. This is your chakra. When you think you have found it, don't shout out. Simply remain focused and tell me. I will give you more instructions from there. Almost an hour had passed from when Kakashi had started Naruto on meditation. If he had guessed, Kakashi would have said that Naruto was asleep. He didn't think that it was possible for the blonde to be this quiet and awake at the same time. That was until Naruto in a small voice said, Sensei, I think I found it. It feels like a thought, only really hard to think. Kakashi smiled at these words. When you first accessed your chakra, it felt like a thought, or better yet, a sentence on the tip of your tongue that you couldn't quite say. Good, now focus on trying to drag it forwards. Try and think that though, Kakashi coached, trying to use Naruto's own words. It was another full minute before anything happened, then Kakashi felt it. Naruto's chakra came spilling out of him. So young, and he already had a capacity of what had to be at least mid to high genin level. He was floored. Good, Naruto, very good indeed. I want you to remember that feeling. Never forget it. It is one of the most important things you will use through your life as a ninja. Now that you know what your chakra feels like, I want you to try using it. I'm going to teach you some jutsu, but first we need to teach you the 12 basic hand signs. Kakashi ran through the 12 hand signs, giving Naruto time to copy and himself time to correct any mistakes in his signing. After Kakashi was confident that Naruto had the different head signs down pat, he showed him the hand signs for the henge. On Naruto's first try, the replica Kakashi had his weight distributed incorrectly, giving the impression of severely obese person instead of the fit person that he was. It took a further 23 more tries before Naruto got the dimensions correct. The only thing left to work on in at any great length was his eye for detail, as there were things missing from the transformation, such as a kunai holster or the buckling on his sandals. Next was the kawarimi. This jutsu had its own unique set of hand signs, and again, Kakashi gave Naruto time to memorize them before getting him to perform it himself. Kawarimi no jutsu, Naruto announced to the world. Kakashi's eye widened for a split second. That was the only amount of time that he had to react. Something must have gone wrong in the hand signaling, for there was a huge boulder dropping through the air to their position. He quickly tackled Naruto out of the way and asked for him to repeat the process, this time focusing less on the amount chakra used but more on the hand signs. Kakashi opted to stay much closer this time in case a similar event occurred. He knew he could get them out of there if the situation called for it. When Naruto reattempted the technique, Kakashi was puzzled. What's wrong? Aren't you going to try again? He asked. I already have, was the reply. Apparently Naruto had used too little chakra this time and had not moved any mass at all. Alright then, could you try to concentrate somewhere in the middle, while trying to use chakra that is in the middle as well? A look of concentration crossed his features as he thought about what he was required to do. After announcing the jutsu, a small flux in the chakra, and realizing that Naruto had indeed completed the jutsu successfully, albeit with a lot of wasted chakra, but successful nonetheless. With such large reserves at such a young age, it was to be expected that his control over his chakra would be poor. With this in mind, he thought about the final thing that he had to teach Naruto, the bunshin. Kakashi had serious doubts as to whether he would ever be able to get Naruto to learn this technique. Naruto's chakra reserves could be likened to a dam, and the dam gates. It was like trying to get only a cup's worth of water from the dam gates while trying to not let any excess water to escape. In other words, impossible. Well, he'd be damned if he didn't try anyway. Naruto, there is one thing that I would like to teach you today. It's called the bunshin. It will create an illusion so it looks like there is more than one of you. However, if you can't get it after a few tries, don't worry, it's not your fault. The hand signs are as follows. For the third time that day, Kakashi demonstrated a set of hand seals, this time for the bunshin. Naruto attempted the bunshin, and as expected, the thing formed for a second before collapsing. As I thought, you have far too much chakra for you to use that technique effectively. Naruto tried to use the jutsu again, only to achieve the exact same results. Now starting to panic that his sensei would not teach him anymore, due to him being unable to make a bunshin, he started trying harder. Recognizing the signs from his body language, Kakashi walked over and out a hand on his shoulder. Naruto flinched at the action, expecting some form of physical punishment for his failure. When none came, he looked up and saw Kakashi looking down at him with genuine concern in his eyes. The flinch had not gone unnoticed. "Remember, I said not to worry about it if you couldn't do it, it's not your fault." Hardly daring to believe his luck at someone else being nice to him, particularly after a failure, his eyes started to get moist with tears, though tears of joy at finding another person to add to the very short list of people who he could trust. "Come on, let's get you back to the Hokage. We've done enough work for today. Let's head back." In the Hokage's office, Naruto was left to flit about and look at the paintings on the wall in the office while Kakashi talked to the aging Hokage. "Well, how was it?" the Hokage asked, fully expecting to hear stories of how Naruto really tried his patience when he was far too hyperactive for Kakashi's liking. Imagine his surprise when Kakashi reported back. "Very good actually, it was enjoyable. While he might bounce off the walls when he goes through everyday life, when he is being taught something he wants to learn, he seems most attentive. Though I can't imagine him keeping the enthusiasm through one of the more boring academy lectures." The Hokage had to raise his eyebrows. Kakashi Hatake, enjoying teaching? What next? His student Jiraiya gave up his perverted ways. "There are a few issues I need to discuss with you though," Kakashi informed the Kage. "Such as?" Sarutobi replied, showing that he was intent on listening. "His chakra reserves are enormous, almost at Chunin level." To say that Sarutobi was surprised was like saying Tsunade had a slight alcohol addiction problem. Kakashi continued, ignoring the shocked look on his commander's face. "It's so large that he can't perform a basic bunshin. I was wondering if you would give me permission to train him in more advanced chakra control techniques." "What did you have in mind?" "Tree walking, if possible. Most of his assailants these days are the villagers. If he can walk up the side of a building and just stay there for a while till we get to him, then there shouldn't be too much hassle in getting him to save himself. It could also lower the body count, as I could arrest the people responsible, instead of having to kill them on the spot in order to punish them, while trying to make haste to get Naruto to the hospital." Sarutobi had to admit Kakashi did bring up some very good points. "Very well, just do me a favor, don't turn him into a brilliant shinobi at the cost of turning him into a complete social recluse. I don't want him becoming like the Aburame, or worse yet like Itachi. Only business and nothing else, no spark of life. I often wonder what it is that the Uchiha did to remove the life from that boy's eyes." Kakashi smiled at the thought. "Don't worry, I don't think that there is ever a chance of that happening." "Oh, and one last request before you are dismissed." Kakashi stopped himself before he shined out of the place, leaving Naruto with the Sandaime. Sarutobi chucked a wad of notes at Kakashi. "Get him some new clothes. Preferably 2 sets. One dark and another bright. If he can train in stealth in the bright clothes in broad daylight, then he should have no problem in hiding himself in the night with dark clothes on." Kakashi only nodded before taking the ride and Naruto in hand and simply walking to the shopping district where they could make their purchases. Just before leaving, he decided to add some information to the lot that he had already reported to the Hokage. "By the way, I've taken it upon myself to teach him how to swim." Yes, thank you. That was something I completely overlooked when I was considering what to have you teach him." Arriving at the shopping district, Kakashi was itching to whip out a little orange book and continue reading from where he left off, but reasoning told him otherwise, and he decided that it was for the best that he leave his reading till later. Both Sensei and his late wife had constantly admonished him for reading Jiraiya's smut. Both respected the man as a shinobi of the highest caliber, but would not tolerate the orange book he authored. He somehow felt it would dishonor their memories if he read the book they so heavily protested in front of their son. He decided to simply settle for searching for a shop that would sell the items that he required. The first store that he walked into instantly glared at Naruto before turning to a highly annoyed Kakashi. "Is there a problem, shopkeeper-san?" Kakashi inquired through a dangerously narrow eye and a voice daring the proprietor to say the wrong thing. "I'm sorry, sir, I didn't notice you. I just happened to see that walking behind you. Don't worry, I'll let it out, then we can continue our business," referring to Naruto as though he was some kind of filthy animal. "You didn't see me? Me, a man standing some 6 foot tall, yet you noticed the barely 3-foot boy, hiding behind my own legs no less," Kakashi retorted, sarcasm dripping from his voice. Now that he had put it that way, the shop owner realized just how stupid he had made himself look. Not as though it mattered. "In any case, my business concerns Naruto, so if you feel that you cannot serve us, we will simply leave, and be sure that no self-respecting shinobi will ever be doing any shopping here." The shopkeeper had only now just realized just how much business he had lost, and was gaping like a fish out of water because of it. Kakashi and Naruto had already left, so there was no chance of repairing the situation. Back out on the street with Naruto and Kakashi, they were looking to find another shop to give their business to. Along the way they came across a shop called Higurashi Ninja Equipment. He pulled Naruto in and they began walking to the counter. The person behind the counter this time addressed Kakashi first. "Good afternoon, how may I serve you today?" This was going to be a good way to gauge whether or not they would be shopping here in the future. Kakashi stepped aside to reveal Naruto. "Actually, we're here for Naruto," he stated, keeping an eye on the man's reaction the whole time. "Sorry little fella," the shopkeeper said, "didn't see you down there." Just the way it should be, instead of insisting that Naruto was more noticeable than a man he was standing behind, roughly twice his height, thought Kakashi while nodding to himself. "Yes, we are looking for some clothes for Naruto, a set of dark clothes and a set of bright clothes." "Well, let's take care of the dark clothes first. Name's Keiichi Higurashi, by the way, store owner. No need for you to introduce yourselves, you're both very well known around this city." In short order, Keiichi had picked out a simple dark blue, almost black t-shirt and pair of shorts and given them to Naruto to try on. While in the change rooms, Kakashi asked Keiichi, "You evidently recognize Naruto, yet you serve him without any issues. Why so different from the rest of the population here?" he asked. "Not that I'm complaining, of course," quickly adding the afterthought. Keiichi looked very pointedly at Kakashi and said, "I sell katana here, Hataki-san. I can tell the difference between the weapon and the object that prevents us from cutting indiscriminately." Kakashi nodded, understanding the message. It seems that he would be giving the Hokage a recommendation to use this shop in preference to others in the future. At some point through his musing, Naruto had wandered out of the change stall and waited for inspection. Kakashi nodded his approval and decided to move on to the bright clothes. "Well, do you have anything in bright colors?" Kakashi was doubtful, as there wasn't often a need for ninja to attract attention to themselves, and if there was, there would be far more efficient methods of doing it. "Well, the best I have is this jumpsuit. Though it's so hideous that I don't think that anyone would ever want to wear it." He took one of the dust-covered suits out from under the counter, displaying what he was talking about. Kakashi could easily see what he was talking about, though it seemed Naruto had found a love greater than ramen. Well, almost. "Awesome, I want it, I want it, I want it, I want it," he yelled in excitement. "Apparently we are taking the jumpsuit as well as the dark clothes. How much for the lot?" Kakashi mused to Keiichi. "I'll charge you for the cost of the dark set only this time. I didn't think that I would ever get rid of those jumpsuits. When he grows out of that one, just come back. I have more and larger sizes under the counter that I don't dare display." That settled it in Kakashi's mind. This shop was getting a recommendation to the Hokage, not only serving them in the first place, but inviting them back for subsequent visits. When Naruto and Kakashi walked back into Sarutobi's office, the Sandaime had for a split second thought that the sun had walked through the office doors. When his eyes adjusted to the brightness, he realized it was Naruto in an extremely bright jumpsuit. Realizing that they had gone and completed their shopping trip and that it was now time for Naruto to return to the orphanage, Kakashi informed the Hokage about Keiichi's shop and then proceeded to drop Naruto at the orphanage. After dropping Naruto off to a smiling matron, Kakashi left, the smile from the matron's face disappearing immediately. She hit Naruto across the head before ordering him inside, or else no scraps for him to eat tonight. He scuttled in as fast as he could, not that it would have changed anything. Her mind was already made up and Naruto was getting nothing to eat that night. With nothing to do, he started meditating the way Kakashi-sensei had taught him. He was focusing on brining his chakra out. Before long he was slipping into what had to be a dream. Mindscape. He was walking a long and dilapidated corridor that could only be truly described as a sewer. When he came to the end of the passage, he found a giant iron cage, with some funny symbols on a piece of paper attached to the door. Inside he could see an animal thrashing about, a fox, he realized. He tried calling out to it, but it appeared not to hear to him. He tried again, calling louder this time, still achieving no response. In the animal's wild thrashing, it turned to look him, and stared straight through him, as though it wasn't seeing anything all. Puzzled, he didn't pay too much attention as his surroundings slowly started fading into black around him. Then he knew nothing as sleep finally enveloped him. The next morning he had no recollection of any of the strange happening that occurred last night. He simply waited for Kakashi to show so that he could continue his training. He had enjoyed spending time with Kakashi. He paid attention to him long enough, and not the usual kind of attention the villagers paid either. The day's training was spent further practicing what he had learned yesterday, introducing arms to his swimming, something that he didn't quite get as he was having trouble remembering to blow bubbles and move his arms and legs, or he would forget to breath. Kakashi had told him what he had achieved was good anyway as the stroke looked good, he just had to remember he wasn't a fish, the inference causing Naruto to giggle. It was then that Kakashi realized that this was the first time he had heard Naruto laugh, not that devious laugh that let him knew that a prank was coming, but a genuine laugh from joy. It was something that warmed his heart, something that he vowed to make happen more often. The hand seals and jutsus were also reviewed, though Kakashi intentionally left of the bunshin. Over the weeks Naruto was introduced to the Academy Taijutsu style, a very basic style, used only to give beginners a foundation on which to build their own techniques if they didn't come from a clan with clan-taught techniques. He was also given a crash course in physical exercise in order to help him move faster and give him a higher stamina, not only in battle, but to outrun the villagers. It was best if he did not attack, though it was fact that he would only be doing so in self-defense. The civilian council took precedence over the shinobi in purely non-shinobi matters. This included punishment of criminals when necessary. It also included adoption when the few who sympathized with Naruto's plight tried to adopt him, they found their every motion blocked. Finally, he was given the stealth training he so desperately needed. He learned about moving in the shadows, he learned about successfully hiding himself. Most importantly, he learned that it was possible to be quiet once in a while, something that appeared to be a gift from the heavens. The most memorable day was quite possibly when Kakashi introduced him to tree climbing. The twist was that Naruto couldn't use his hands. Kakashi had demonstrated as usual, and it had Naruto so excited he tried to charge up the nearest tree. It was amazing that he managed to get 4 paces up the tree considering that he did not realize that he had to apply chakra to the soles of his feet in order to glue himself to the tree bark. It was some weeks after Naruto had started training with his sensei when Kakashi turned up at the orphanage to pick him up for the day's regimen. When he got there and eagerly awaiting Naruto was nowhere to be found. Upon asking the matron, she stated, "I kicked him out last night. He's sitting with his eyes closed, and had some blue energy flying around him. I couldn't risk the other children's safety in case he was preparing an attack. So I kicked him out." Kakashi was livid. There was a protocol to be followed if there was ever a situation with Naruto, and she had just blown right past it. Right now he couldn't really detain her, it was more important that he found him immediately before anyone tried to harm him. He quickly made 6 Kage bunshins, similar to the regular bunshin, but they could interact with their environment, while the regulars could not, and when dispelled any info gained would be passed to the user. They went off in pairs, one to look after Naruto should a pair find him, the other to dispel to pass the location to the real Kakashi. It was not long before the real Kakashi had found Naruto huddled in a dumpster, in a nearby alleyway. The bunshins were dispelled as Kakashi took Naruto to his house to get cleaned up before taking him to the civilian council. This was the last straw. He was only a boy only just past his 4th birthday, living out on the streets. There was no way he could live on his own, he was simply too young, and how in hell would he manage to maintain the place, much less find the money to eat and live? He walked into the appropriate sector of the office. The person working on the desk looked up, saw who Kakashi was with and looked back down just as fast. Kakashi coughed to gain her attention before calmly saying, "I'm here to have Naruto Uzumaki put under my legal guardianship." The woman didn't even bother looking up. "You will have to join the queue." Kakashi couldn't tell if she was trying to be funny, because the room was completely empty. Frankly, he didn't care. He was fed up and he was here to put an end to it. He shot a quick look at Naruto and realized that he was distracted by something outside the door. Kakashi pulled up his hatayate and said rather forcefully, "Will you at least look at me when you take to me?" When she looked up, she was immediately caught in a genjutsu given off by the Sharingan eye in his left socket. "You will get me the forms to fill that will put Naruto under my legal guardianship." She walked off in a zombie-like state, retrieving the forms from a nearby filing cabinet, waiting for Kakashi to finish filling out the forms. After an hour and many miles of red tape, Kakashi and Naruto walked out of the guardianship office, with papers in hand stating that Kakashi was now Naruto's legal guardian. He idly thought that he would have to go and inform the Hokage of the change in both his and Naruto's living arrangements. Naruto, well, he couldn't get over the fact that he had been adopted, and by Kakashi-sensei no less. He was so close to crying tears of joy, you could see the tears well in his eyes. Kakashi finally felt he was on the road to repaying the man he considered a second father. Training Naruto just didn't feel right, it didn't feel enough, but now, he felt being closer to being complete and repaying the debt he felt H had incurred to Minato Namikaze. 2 years later, Naruto was still living with Kakashi and loving every minute of it. In the past, Naruto didn't really have many happy times. All he could remember were moments when did not have to fear for his life as a result of the villagers' persecution. These days he had times that he could look back upon in many years to come and say that they were actually joyous moments. That didn't mean to say that the villagers that he had no bad memories while being under Kakashi's direct care. Though there was the odd attempt, there were far fewer attempts at Naruto's life. In the 2 years that Kakashi had spent looking after Naruto, many things had changed. Their relationship had been taken from that of a teacher and student to that of a mentoring older brother. Kakashi had left the ANBU and also put his reading of Ika Ika in hold. Kakashi, for his part, had no idea how he had lived before Naruto. It was just so much fun now that he couldn't conceivably imagine living without him. He still remembered the conversation that he had with the Hokage that day and the chaos that ensued shortly after. Flashback. Kakashi had just walked into the Hokage's office. Sarutobi greeted them, somewhat surprised at seeing them. Normally they would train and then return to report on the progress Naruto was making at the end of the week. Being only Wednesday, he wasn't expecting to see either of them for a full 2 days, short of a mission that required Kakashi's skills specifically, seeing as he was being paid to tutor Naruto. "What can I do for you two today?" the Hokage asked. Kakashi wasted no time in his reply. "There is nothing that you can do for us. I just came to inform you that I have adopted Naruto before you hear something strange from another source." If there was anything Sarutobi was expecting, it was not that. His mouth fell open and his pipe dropped to the ground. He was at a loss for words. "How?" was all he managed to grunt out, not trusting himself to speak further. Kakashi wasn't even given time to answer as the door to the Hokage's office burst open. It was Asuka Haruno. Sarutobi looked past her to see his secretary giving him an apologetic look. He sent her a look back that seemed to say that he knew that she could have done nothing to prevent it. "Hokage-sama, it has been brought to our attention that someone has adopted the demo." She caught herself just in time. It was almost a force of habit to call Naruto by such hate-filled names. Once she had calmed herself and was thinking slightly clearer, she restarted. "It has been brought to our attention that someone has adopted Naruto Uzumaki." The Hokage was about to answer her when someone beat him to the punch. Kakashi entered the conversation. "Brought to your attention? I adopted Naruto not half an hour ago. How could you possibly know so quickly?" Kakashi of course knew how they knew. There was some sort of plot to never have Naruto adopted, ensuring that he always had a miserable life. It was that it was impossible to prove. Now that the civilian council had found out so soon after the papers had been processed and well before any formal complaint could follow the proper official channels, the person that had served him at the desk must have realized the paperwork that she held in her hands, must have contacted Asuka Haruno, a recent addition to the civilian council. Though she had only just joined the council, she was fast on her way to becoming its head, due to her unrivaled and thinly veiled hatred of Naruto. Nobody could work out where the hatred came from. She had not lost anyone particularly close in the Kyuubi attack, yet the hatred was there and burning stronger than any Uchiha Katanjutsu. Yes, there are special circumstances that surround that boy, as I'm sure you are well aware. For this reason we have called a council meeting of both the civilian and ninja sectors. It was now Sarutobi's eyes that narrowed in suspicion. "How did you arrange the ninja council to convene? The only 4 people that have such power in the village are myself, and any one of the 3 village elders." He had his suspicions, though he knew she would never confirm them. "That is not the issue right now. Both of the councils are gathered and are waiting in the council chambers. It is best that we do not delay them any further." She had dodged the question and attempted to redirect his attention. He was aware of this, but as it stood he would rather just get the meeting out of the way. In the council chambers there was a large ruckus. Asuka drew their attention, announcing the reason that we are gathered. "We are here to discuss the implications of the adoption of one Naruto Uzumaki." Naruto, for his part, couldn't understand why his adoption was such a big deal for everyone else. This should be special to only him and Kakashi-sensei, with a select few others to be allowed to celebrate with them. "Before we begin, I would like to ask why the Ninja Council was also gathered," Sarutobi demanded. "Simple, to decide upon what punishment should be suitable for Kakashi Hatake should we deem disciplinary action be necessary," was Asuka's smug response. "The Ninja Council is only concerned with dealing punishment for professional misconduct. As such, there is no need for them to be here. Any member of the Ninja Council that does not wish to witness this has my permission to leave." No sooner than the words had left Sarutobi's mouth, Hayashi Hyuga and Fugaku Uchiha had shined out of the chambers. After having part of her plan demolished by the Hokage, Asuka settled for trying to remove Naruto from Kakashi's guardianship. "Well, it still remains to be seen whether it is a good idea for Hatake-san should be allowed to adopt Naruto." Maintaining his usual air of casual indifference, Kakashi asked, "On what grounds do you deem me unfit to look after Naruto?" "We are all aware of Naruto's unique circumstances. she said, skirting around, stating that he had a demon sealed within him for fear of her life. We are simply unsure how stable he is or whether he will attack. We simply have the adopting family or individual's best interests at heart. Kakashi was smiling. She had made it too easy. Are you telling me that an aged matron with no battle skills is better equipped than me to handle Naruto if such an unlikely event occurred? Me, a highly experienced jounin of considerable standing in this village? Sarutobi cast his eyes about the room. Shikakunara, while appearing to be asleep, was paying close attention to the proceedings and had a knowing grin about his face if you cared to look closely enough. Suminazuka, head of the Inuzuka clan, Chuza Akimichi, head of the Akimichi clan, and Inoichi Yamanaka, head of the Yamanaka clan, were not even bothering to hide their glee. For many years each had made attempts to adopt Naruto into the family, each failing every time. Shibi Aburame's facial expression could not be seen through the high-collared jacket and dark sunglasses he wore, but there had to have been at least a smirk on his face from the proceedings. While he had not made an active effort to adopt Naruto, he or his clansmen had time and time again rendered assistance, using their Kekai bugs to mercilessly drain an assailant's chakra till they died. Attacking a mere child, more defenseless than one of their bugs, deserved no mercy. Kakashi continued while Asuka was still mulling over his words. Also, if he really is as dangerous as you insist, then is it wise to leave him in a place filled with so many other vulnerable children? Asuka was quick on the rebuttal. As you said, it is very unlikely that he will ever attack, so there is no risk. Ha! Got you there. Take that, you stupid one-eyed Cyclops, raged the inner persona that all Haruno women possess, not stopping to consider that one-eyed Cyclops was not much of an insult. Kakashi smiled once again. Just as you say, it is very unlikely that he would ever attack. So there is no risk, and I shouldn't need fear and no reason for you to worry about my well-being now that I have adopted him. She was beat and he knew it. She had nothing to say. She simply opened and closed her mouth like a fish gulping air. Not wanting to waste any more time here, Sarutobi called the meeting to an end before any other member of the civilian council grew a brain and tried to find some way to remove Naruto from Kakashi's custody. Flashback end. Kakashi still thought back to that day when he felt like he needed a lift in his day. After all, it was not often that you got to silence the civilian council's power broker without the rest of them even getting a word in, almost making it pointless having gathered them in the first place. Right now Naruto and Kakashi were playing a game of hide and seek. This was to practice stealth techniques. It wasn't quite as simple as the civilian version. The hiding and seeking was still the same, but the person needed to learn to hide so much better if they wanted to avoid being caught. Another difference was that the person was allowed to move around while they were hiding. This was a double-edged sword, to move to remain concealed, or to remain still and avoid giving your position away. It was a very fine balance, as any movement had to be precise and not alert the enemy. This was often a game he had played with his genin team, though there were a few extra rules. Like using a genjutsu to disorient the searcher, though it had to be placed very subtly, otherwise you were classed as being found. As he continued his search pattern, he heard a rustling in the bushes nearby. A normal person would have passed it off as the breeze, but Kakashi was not a normal person. He had found Naruto. He walked over to the bushes and placed his hand on Naruto's head. He had done quite well not to be spotted, considering he was still into wearing those hideous orange jumpsuits that they managed to obtain from Keiichi. Kakashi had many other games that he used to teach Naruto strategy. It always worked best with games. He was still a firm believer that children learn best when they were having fun with what they were doing, something that Naruto seemed to prove over and over again. Kakashi taught him strategy. The ideal game to play would have been Shugi, but seeing as Naruto was too young, he settled for snakes and ladders. The first thing he had taught Naruto to do was how to cheat at throwing the dice, and always get the number that you wanted. Of course, once Naruto had learned this, he always went for 6, only to end up back on the beginning square after the 5th roll very time. He had quickly learned that it was not always the highest number that got him the furthest, but sometimes that a lower number could be better, especially if you landed on a ladder. With that in mind, Kakashi then made the objective to reach the goal square in as few turns as possible. It took Naruto many weeks of experimenting before he got the optimal route that Kakashi had planned in his head almost immediately. When he had done that, he got out a different board, harder this time to net out the correct route. Surprisingly, it took him less time than the original. He was learning to consider all his options faster and make correct choices. Their training had continued over the years. He could now effectively do the henge and the kawarini. Bunshin was still impossible for him to perform. Kakashi had kept to his word to Sarutobi and not taught him any of the higher-level jutsu from his vast repertoire. His chakra control, while much better, was still not as good as Kakashi would have liked, particularly with all the tree-walking training he was doing. Then again, Kakashi was using himself as a yardstick, a person that was already a genin by his Naruto's age. He knew that using genjutsu was out of the question for Naruto. The best he could hope for was to teach him how to get himself out of them. This was easier said than done, as it involved putting Naruto into a genjutsu, and the ones he knew were far too extreme to subject a child of barely 6 years old to. To help, he sought out Kurina Yuhi, a promising young chunin. She was far better than he was at genjutsu, and was able to cast minor ones of her own creation on the spot, often used for punishing perverts. When he had asked her to cast a genjutsu over Naruto showing a picture of Guy Mato chucking Ichiraku's ramen down the drain, she gave him a quizzical look. He gave her a sheepish grin and asked her not to question. The genjutsu was cast. Genjutsu vision. YOSH. Someone's flames of youth have started to dwindle. To consume ramen, such an unyouthful act. I will make my own flames of youth burn even brighter by tipping this horrid ramen down the drain. Guy proceed to tip the ramen down a drain that had just magically appeared. Vision end. That was all poor Naruto could take. The speech was enough to tolerate. Green spandex was bad, the bowl haircut was worse, the fuzzy eyebrows, well, they were horrendous. But compared to the evil of tipping perfectly good ramen down the drain, the rest was nothing. Naruto was panting hard, with a horrified look on his sweat-covered face. Never had he seen such an evil thing in his life. He had to get out and did the only thing he could remember Kakashi telling him to do: emit a large pulse of chakra to end the jutsu. Kakashi, for his part, was grinning. He had just taught Naruto to escape genjutsu, all the while getting one up on his eternal rival, with him being none the wiser. Kurenai decided something were best left unasked and decided to stay and help Naruto train in order to reduce the amount of chakra he used to dispel the jutsu. Naruto agreed to be subjected to more genjutsu on the condition that he was ever to see ramen being wasted again. It was now a new year and the day of the first day at the Konoha Ninja Academy. Aniki, are you going to take me to the academy today? Kakashi smiled and Naruto addressed him as his older brother. Rather fitting, actually, Kakashi thought, the son of the man I consider a surrogate father referring to me as his older brother. Yes, Naruto Toto, don't worry, I'll see you off. This is an important day for you, I wouldn't is it for the world. Kakashi reassured, his one visible eye crinkling with kindness. After a short breakfast, we find the pair roof hoping towards the Ninja Academy. Silently, Kakashi thanked himself for all the physical training that he had done with Naruto over the past 2 years. It had consisted of swimming practice and daily jogging to improve his stamina and speed, as well as a few exercises to build some strength into his muscles, though not too much as to affect his growth. While they weren't traveling anywhere near the speeds that Kakashi was used to, it would have driven him nuts to have traveled at ground level at civilian pace. In 15 minutes they had reached the academy. Kakashi turned to Naruto with a few last messages. Alright, every time you come here from now on, I want you to time yourself. Each time you should aim to beat your best time in arriving here. You don't have to beat it every time, that would be ridiculous. Just focus on getting here as fast as you can, and remember, don't claim you beat the time if you end up taking a shorter route. Kakashi watched as the devious smile on Naruto's face fell. He could read that smile any time now and often had a fairly good idea as to what Naruto was thinking when he used it. After all, there was something to be said for Naruto's unpredictability. Secondly, ask questions. Even if they make you feel stupid, ask them anyway. You will learn more if you are asking questions. This will help you later on in ninja life. Kakashi didn't need to go much further than that, the explanation would be lost, but it was a vital part of being a ninja. Questioning everything, from information given to the reality of one's surroundings, was vital. Even if the question was asked only in one's head, it was better to answer yourself, rather than have a question unasked and thus unanswered, particularly in the field. Naruto gave Kakashi a hug, no longer flinching at human contact like he had done only 2 short years ago. Kakashi watched his retreating back for a while, before shining home. He had put off reading the Ika Ika book series for 2 whole years now. He'd be damned if he didn't catch up while he had the chance. Naruto was looking through each class list attached to each of the doors. He finally came to a door which had his name posted on the class list. He cracked a wide grin as he recognized some of the names on the list. Kiba Inuzuka, Shikamaru Nara, Chuji Akimichi and Shino Aburain were all on his class list as well. Over the 2-year period, the 5 of them had grown quite close. Well, the 4 of them had. They were about as friendly as anyone had ever been with an Aburain, not for want of trying, but due to Shino being so withdrawn like the rest of his clan. 2 other names also stuck out, Sakura Haruno and Ino Yamanaka. He recognized the names, though didn't get the same thrill of excitement that went through him when he saw the other 4 boys' names. Ino was polite to him when they were with their parents, but when their parents weren't watching, she avoided all 4 boys like the plague. It wasn't due to her parents' attitudes towards Naruto, simply that she thought that boys were icky and tried to spend as little time with them as possible. Sakura was a different kettle of fish altogether. Naruto and Sakura had something of a history together, as was to be expected. It was hardly surprising that Asuka's highly negative view of Naruto had rubbed off on her daughter, indeed going as far to actively warn her daughter and tell her to keep away from the boy. Sakura for her part could not see what was so bad about the boy, but her mother had told her to keep away and not become friends. When she went to the park, she found a group of children no older than the age of 5 teasing Naruto about everything, from his orange clothes to his whisker-like marks on his face. Sakura, glad that they were for once not teasing her, joined in. Ino could be seen somewhere in the background not participating, but not saying anything in Naruto's defense, like the boys were. This continued on for weeks until Ino finally approached Sakura. Flashback. Sakura, why do you make fun of Naruto? Because everyone else does. The answer was straightforward, to the point, and yet it still confused the young Yamanaka. Ino pressed on, determined for more answers. But I see you get teased and called names and you don't like it. So if you don't like it, why make fun of Naruto? Because when I tease him, everyone forgets to make fun of me. I think that they even like me a little when I say mean things to Naruto. I just want to have friends. They make fun of me for my big forehead and pink hair. I just want to have a friend. Sakura explained, almost on the verge of tears as she finished. Ino came to her own conclusion slowly. So if I be your friend, you'll stop picking on Naruto like the rest, right? Ino surmised. Sakura was in shock. Someone as popular as Ino was offering to be her friend. Not really having anything to say, she simply nodded. True, since that point neither Ino nor Sakura could have been happier. While the boys were kind to her, she never really liked laying with them, so she was glad to have a girl to play with. Sakura was glad to finally have a friend and someone that would stick up for her when the bullies came back. After this, not once did she feel the need to pick on Naruto again. After all, she had a friend of her very own. Flashback end. Naruto walked into the class and noticed that 3 of his 4 friends were already seated. Only Kiba was missing. He sat on Shikamaru's left while Chuji was seated on his right. This left space for Kiba to sit on Naruto's own left, and the group could sit together though school. Kiba sailed into the class only a few minutes after Naruto. Naruto failed to notice as he was now taking note of the rest of his classmates. There was a boy in the corner with obsidian black hair. He was wearing a blue t-shirt and ninja sandals with a white pair of shorts. He also had bandaging going around his shins as well as his forehead. He didn't seem to be talking to anyone, but there did seem to be an unusually large number of girls sitting around him. The next person he took notice of was a girl with indigo hair that seemed as though she was trying to mimic a turtle by disappearing into her massively oversized jacket. The jacket was beige in color, and was complemented by a pair of blue 3/4-length shinobi pants. The thing that held Naruto's attention though was her eyes. From what he could see, they had no pupils and reminded him of the full moon, something he loved starting out with either his friends or his Aniki when they all had the time. He was snapped out of his thoughts by the rough opening of the door to the room. A man with silver hair walked in first, closely followed by a man with brown hair pulled back into a ponytail and a scar across the bridge of his nose. The man with the ponytail spoke first. Good morning, class. My name is Irika Yumino and this is my colleague Mizuki Bakemono, though you may refer to us as Irika-sensei and Mizuki-sensei. Together we will be your Chunin instructors through your academy life, providing tuition in the ninja arts as well as areas such as battle tactics, survival skills, mathematics, language, and Konoha's history. Many a snigger had broken out during Irika's introduction of Mizuki, not that he could really blame them. The day started out with the typical self-introductions, and sorry, but I'm not going to run through these. I have a feeling that this chapter is going to end up rather long as it is. This was followed up by a history lesson, something that the students would deem the second most unwanted thing to hear in their entire academy life. The coveted first place went to Irika's patented big head jutsu, which was discovered a short while later when nearly everyone was asleep. The lecture was followed up by the highly anticipated lecture in chakra, which was a complete let-on. They only really discussed what chakra was and its uses. There was no practical, which thoroughly disappointed many of the students, mostly those who had not accessed their chakra yet. Elsewhere, Kakashi was wandering around, not really sure of what he should do with he regained freedom. The decision was soon taken out of his hands when an ANBU officer shined right in front of him. Hataki-san, the Hokage has requested your presence. Fully expecting the ANBU to shin away again, Kakashi started to make his way down the street once again. Kakashi turned and said to the man, "You can leave now. Your message has been passed on. Actually, I have orders to irritate you until you actually arrive at the Hokage's office." "Well, I'd love to see you try. I live with Naruto, so I've built up a pretty high resistance to irritating things." Kakashi had a smug look about his face. The Hokage did warn me of such, so he gave me the ultimate battle plan. Henge. Looking skeptical, Kakashi waited for the smoke to clear with a skeptical look replacing the smug one he was currently wearing. His skepticism soon turned to absolute horror. The ANBU had henged into Mado Guy, his eternal rival. No, he wouldn't. Kakashi though wildly, his stomach nodding with apprehension. YOSH. Let the power of youth explode. He did, and Kakashi wasn't having any of it. If all it took was a visit to the Hokage, then so be it. Anything was better than that, well, nearly anything. At the Hokage Tower, an old man waited patiently for the visit he was surely about to receive. 2 minutes after having sent the ANBU agent, Kakashi Hatake was standing before him. It had to be some kind of record. That was below the belt, Hokage-sama. Kakashi pointed an accusing finger at the aging Hokage. He simply smiled at Kakashi, finally having something against the eternally tardy ninja. Come now, Kakashi, we are ninja, there are no real rules and certainly no line below which we cannot hit. The grin never leaving his face. The grin suddenly disappeared, showing that he was going to be completely serious now. Kakashi, noticing the change in demeanor, responded accordingly by withdrawing his hand and standing to attention, showing that he was listening. I have an offer for you. I want you to listen to the whole thing before you decline. I want you to rejoin ANBU. Detecting that Kakashi was about to interrupt as he thought that was the whole offer, he quickly spoke again, raising his voice as he continued. I want you to be assigned to my personal guard here in the village. There are many benefits to this. The risk is far lower than that of any other ANBU missions. This way you stay in the village when you are on duty and you don't have to leave Naruto unattended for days. Finally, financially you will be better off. You have been surviving for the past couple of years on the monthly stipend that I allow you out of the budget. This will give you the chance to earn money far above that monthly allowance. Kakashi mulled it over in his head. The two things that had Kakashi most concerned about rejoining the ANBU were the mission risk and leaving Naruto alone while he was away on missions. If Kakashi were to die while he was out on a mission, then Naruto would be left alone again. If Naruto were to die while Kakashi left him to go on a mission, Kakashi may very well committing seppuku. This offer removed those two factors. What are the hours? Kakashi asked, hoping that he would say that it was from 9 a.m. till 3 p.m., the hours that Naruto was in the academy. 6 a.m. till 2:30 p.m. 8-hour shifts with a 30 minutes on-call paid break. In other words, if I call you through those 30 minutes, you drop what you are doing and come. In fact, if I call you at any time between those hours, you drop what you are doing and come. Sarutobi finished with a rather sternly. Kakashi realized that the Hokage was referring to his tardy ways. There wasn't much need for further consideration. The hours were not perfect, but better than he could have received. I accept. Thank you for the kind offer, Hokage-sama. Good, you start next weekend, Kakashi. Be on time every time. This appointment is one that many would give their left hand for. Just as easily as I have given it, I can just as easily take you of the duty. Dismissed. With a sharp nod, Kakashi shined home, realizing that he would not have the time to read starting next week, so he was going to get through all he could in the week he had left, blood supply permitting, of course. The weeks to come were hardly anything of note. Kakashi had started his job as one of the Hokage's personal guards. At the end of the month, he was pleasantly surprised with the paycheck he received. More than enough to cover both his Ika addiction as well as Naruto's ramen addiction, and then leave some left over for the other more essentials in life. Naruto was thoroughly enjoying school, well, anything practical anyway. The only real subject that Naruto found interesting was history, and only when it specifically included the Yondaime Hokage. While the other Kages were cool and powerful and stuff, nothing beats beating the strongest demon of them all, the Kyubi no Yuko. He found the practical side of anything rally easy, mostly because he had been trained in it in the last 2 years. There were other exceptional children in his year. Ino, Kiba and Chuji and Sakura all shone in given fields. Kiba and Chuji in taijutsu, the girls more so in the use of jutsu, or in Sakura's case bookwork and academics. There were 2 standout students. The first was Shino, and the second and current top of the class was Sasuke, the boy that Naruto had observed from afar on the very first day. In fact, if it weren't for his bookwork, Naruto would have been right up there with them as one of the top-ranked students in the class. Consequently, he was only ranked average, due to his abysmal academic ability. There were 2 students that baffled the teachers. Both of them were clan heirs, so it was expected that they would do better than they currently were. Hinata Hyuga, while not being a genius, was still fairly apt at bookwork, though not enough to earn her the top place amongst the potential kunoichi. Her ability was brilliant, almost top of the class. In fact, there were only 3 people that could beat her: Naruto, Shino, and Sasuke. The thing that baffled the teachers was that her taijutsu was terrible. She came from a clan that was known to use what is regarded as the strongest taijutsu style in Konoha, the gentle fist. Yet every time she entered a match she was defeated. It was clear to the Chunin instructors that every time she had a clear shot she hesitated, not wanting to injure her opponent, ultimately leading to her defeat. The second person that mystified the instructors was Shikamaru Nara. He was poorly ranked in taijutsu, often forfeiting his matches. His ability to use the jutsu was relatively competent, but it was his test scores that confused them. Every time he would answer only so many of the questions in the exam, getting all the ones he did answer correct. Though he seemed to have the potential to actually ace all of his tests, he only scored enough to score exactly 50%, leaving him with the lowest passing score of the class. Before long, half of the year had passed. Sasuke still maintained the overall top position in the class, while Shino was still hot on his heels. It was only very occasionally that Sasuke lost to anyone, and if he did it was always to Naruto in a taijutsu match, simply for the blonde's unwillingness to give up and his freakish endurance. The Uchiha clan council could not have him, would not have him losing to anyone in any regard. After all, they were the Uchiha, the strongest in the village. To give him the best advantage that he could have, they enlisted the help of none other than his older brother to train his. After all, he was a jounin already, and only at the age of 11. At first he was reluctant to train him, though when he realized that their training time was not to be interfered with he quickly changed his mind. It had always bothered Itachi that the Uchiha had rested on their laurels and claimed to be the greatest in the village, due to the sheer power of the Sharingan. It always annoyed Itachi that he was referred to as the Uchiha prodigy, as though saying that he only had power due to his clan of birth, not his own hard work. It made Itachi angry, not simply annoyed, irritated or any of those other more mild emotions, but outright furious that the clan of Sharingan wielders believed only in the betterment of the clan and not the village as a whole. With his younger brother under his tutelage, he was determined to have at least one other Uchiha that saw his views, even if he had to beat it into his younger brother, and that is exactly what he did. Flashback. So Sasuke, this will be our first time, not as brothers, but as sensei and pupil. As such you will regard me as sensei through this time. Itachi informed Sasuke, who all the while just remained silent, giving small nods that he had understood. Now we will spar with me, asking questions throughout. I will fight at your level, though should you get a question wrong, I will not check my hand and you will feel the full force of the blow. We begin now. Sasuke, when you fight, for whom are you fighting? Before the question had been completed it was already being answered. The Uchiha clan, Sasuke answered, as though it were almost a conditioned response. Before he knew Itachi had moved, Sasuke was sent sprawling on the ground. Itachi's eyes showed no emotion. Incorrect, try again. Who do you fight for? Father, to make him proud. Sasuke was recoiled as a fist planted itself deep within his gut. Wrong, you fight for your village. The village hands you the assignment, an assignment designed to benefit the village in some way, from the lowest of D ranks to the highest of S rank missions. We will try again, this time with a different question. Sasuke nodded, not being able to speak properly after being winded by the punch. Itachi had said he was not going to check his hand, yet Sasuke had the distinct feeling he was anyway. The sparring had resumed and was in full throttle when Itachi quizzed him again. Why is it that you are the top of your class? Why am I so powerful at such a young age? Sasuke listened to the full question before choosing to respond. Once Itachi had finished, only then did he speak up, feeling he had found the correct answer and avoided another painful blow. It is because we are Uchiha. He was sent flying this time. It had made Itachi lose his temper. To have the arrogance of our clan so firmly embedded into one so young, such a pity. Try again. Why do we prevail over others, even above our own clansmen? Sasuke was panicking. Why did he and his brother succeed and do better than others, even those inside their clan? If he and the rest of his clan were same in being Uchihas, then he should not be able to prevail over them based on that merit alone. He knew what the answer was not, but couldn't figure out what the answer was. What did he and his brother have in common that they did not have in common with the rest of the clan? Well, there was only one thing that they did in common, and that was that they enjoyed training, that was it. Because we work hard. Sasuke closed his eyes, expecting a devastating blow for saying something so un-Uchiha-like, but nothing came. Then he looked up to see a smiling older brother. Correct. We try hard and work for what we have. It was not simply given to us. Remember that the path of a ninja is not an easy one, but with some determination you can truly accomplish great things. Work hard and go beyond what this clan believes to be its best. Finally, there's one last question I would ask of you. Why do you fight? Sasuke was troubled by this question. An idiot would have answered immediately what he had been taught by his father and the clan council. Fight for power and fight for the pride of the Uchiha. Sasuke was far from an idiot and realized this is the last answer Itachi would want to hear. Then he realized, if he did not fight for this purpose, then he had no reason to fight, none of his own at least anyway. Sasuke, this does not need to be answered right away. If you do not have one now, then develop one. All I ask is that you might tell me when you do, as a request from an older brother, not a task from your sensei. Flashback end. Itachi's training and questioning of some of his firmest belief continued throughout the rest of the school year. It was through this time that they actually became brothers by more than just title or by blood relation, but by their ties to each other. Slowly Sasuke changed, changing those around him in the process. His rivalry with Naruto had not ended and had forced the young blonde to work even harder if he ever wanted to be considered on the same level as Sasuke in at least taijutsu. This in turn forced Kiba and Chuji to up their efforts not to get left behind by their friend. Shikamaru still had the mentality that it was all still far too troublesome. Ino and Sakura, just as determined not to get left behind by the boys and prove their own worth, started training harder to catch up the gap that seemed to have opened out over the few weeks. Hinata was not to feel the effects of such a thing as well. Her clan had deemed that Hanabi would make a far better heir to the Hyuga than Hinata. As a direct result, Hinata stopped receiving private training from her father, who had opted to train Hanabi. Hayashi had his own secret agenda. He had declared Hanabi the heir to save her from receiving the caged bird seal on her 3rd birthday. While it pained him to sever connections with his first child, he still had to protect his second-born. Hinata was completely unaware of the politics that surrounded both her and her younger sister, though due to the clan disowning her in all regards except name, she was free to do as she pleased, and do as she pleased she did. She was not going to be seen as weak by the rest of her classmates. They had already changed themselves for the better. She was now determined to look to the rest of her class as a source of inspiration and improve herself along with them. Where she once struggled to prove herself to her clan, she now thrived, proving herself to her classmates and sensei, all the while a genjutsu mistress watching from afar as the student she privately tutored excelled and improved in leaps and bounds. To Mizuki and Irika, it was inconceivable that one class could change so drastically due to the change in attitude of one student, yet it had happened. Even many of the so-called die-hard fangirls had changed their ways. Sakura had often wondered if she would have been like that, liking Sasuke only to fit in with the crowd if she had not met and befriended Ino. It seemed that there were going to be quite a few genin teams passing this year, and not just the exam, but the Jounin-administered test as well. 1 year later. It was raining. It seemed as though heaven itself had opened up to share in the grief and mourning that was passing through the town like a ripple. It was a sad day for many, and whispers were about. Snippets of conversation could be heard everywhere, all on the same topic of conversation. Did you hear? Yes, did you? That's right, all wiped out. Poor Sasuke is the only one that was left. How horrible. No one with the Sharingan survived. Only Sasuke, the last Uchiha. Sasuke was not sure what to feel. On one hand, there was the immeasurable grief and sorrow over losing one's family to one person in one night. On the other hand, it was the villagers' conversations that made as though all of the clan had been wiped out. It was not the case. Sasuke was the only one who had any potential of bearing the Sharingan, that much was true. Yet those who still bore the Uchiha name yet not the bloodline still lived, the prized Sharingan. Sadly, no one acknowledged their pain. His brother Itachi had gone on a rampage the previous night, killing all who could wield the Sharingan. In his rampage he had killed many who had married into the Uchiha family for power and prestige. The only members of this group allowed to live was Sasuke, the youngest with the potential to awaken the Sharingan, and the many merchants, or the like, who had married into the clan who had genuinely fallen in love with an Uchiha, more often than not, a person that was an adult, and was discarded as trash after they failed to awake the Sharingan. Sasuke, while not there to watch the full extent of the massacre, was there to see his beloved elder brother kill his father in cold blood. Flashback. Sasuke walked into the compound doors only to hear moans and wailings of pain as many people clung to loved ones. Died and read, these people clung to the lifeless bodies of their treasured people. It seemed there was no pattern to it. Men, women, children of all ages, the youngest being only a little older than Sasuke, were all lying dead around him. He tried to ask them who had committed the crime, but he would get no response. He simply rushed off in the direction of his father's office. He opened the door only to receive a splatter of blood across his eyes, tainting his vision red. What he could see was his mother crying over his father's body as he slowly bled to death. Itachi, please kill me too. Send me to be with the man I love. Even now Mikoto Uchiha was a devout wife. I'm truly sorry, Okasan, but I cannot grant you release. You must still look after Sasuke. Upon mention of her other son, her frantic thoughts seemed to clear. She still had one more son to raise. It seems that it would be a while before she could join her beloved on the other side. Itachi turned to Sasuke. Sasuke, I have left the only two people worthy to wield the Sharingan, you and me. This clan has been purged of its stupid ideals. Please remember all that I have taught you. Itachi silently prayed that he would remember not only the lessons on the ninja arts, but also why he should work hard and not fall into the trap that of many Uchiha before him had fallen into. Why? Was all Sasuke could manage to voice. Sasuke, sometimes even the mightiest of trees gets a limb that becomes infected and parasitic. To prevent the spread of infection and the corruption of the tree, it is best to sacrifice that limb, even if it once had a great purpose to the tree. Before Sasuke could ask anything further, Itachi had left to avoid the ANBU officers he knew would be coming to his location, while he waited here. Without further commotion, he turned his back and would not be seen by anyone that would recognize him for many years to come. Flashback end. There was a public memorial for the clan. Many turned up. Since that day, many had started fawning over Sasuke. It wasn't just the fangirls anymore either, it w the village adults as well. Frankly, it made him sick to see them put him on a pedestal, while there were so many in his clan members that had lost loved ones, yet no assistance was not offered to them. Why? The connection was simple, because he was the one remaining person that could attain the Sharingan as well as produce an heir that was capable of receiving it as well. Sasuke separated him from those that fawned over him and focused on his training, surrounding himself with those that he knew would not give him an inch through their training time. There was a surprisingly large number of them, all of them from his class in the Ninja Academy. Over time, many of these people had supported him while he got over his grief. Naruto and Kiba had taken to playing pranks over the years. The ultimate was when Naruto used a variation of the henge to transform into a female version of himself with smoke covering the most intimate parts, knocking both Mizuki and Iruka out from a giant nosebleed each. Of course, he had to run from both Ino and Sakura for degrading women everywhere. Later, when questioned about how he developed the jutsu, he retold about finding one of his brother's books and how he modeled the body after the one seen in that, then adding some feminine grace to his face before completing the jutsu. Others simply helped him train instead of trying to find idiotic ways to make him laugh, as Sasuke seemed most peace when training, perhaps because it was one of the good memories that he had with this brother. This group that had formed, this number of 12 children, would be remembered as the greatest graduating class ever. Greater than the class that held any Kage, greater than the class that saw the entry of the Sannin into the ninja world. No other class, before or after them, could lay claim to having 12 students of such high caliber when they graduated. 5 years later. It was the night of the graduation exam. Everyone was at home resting for the exam, well, nearly everyone. Naruto Uzumaki was at home panicking because he still could not do the Bunshin Jutsu. He was 12 now, and his father had explained to him that he simply had too much chakra to release such a small amount without there being any wastage. This didn't stop him. It was the thing that so many of his friends admired about him. He never gave up and he never stopped trying. Kakashi watched his little brother struggle for the umpteenth time. It was time he took pity on the boy. He had kept his promise to the Hokage from all those years ago, but it was time that he broke that promise in order to help a little by teaching a high-level jutsu. Naruto, come here. I have something that will help you with the Bunshin. Naruto, wanting any advantage he could get, quickly moved from his place in the training area of their backyard to where Kakashi was standing. This, strictly speaking, is not help with the Bunshin, but a replacement technique, seeing as you can't use it. Naruto grinned. Kakashi, seeing the imminent explosion of joy, quickly cut through his thoughts. There is a condition to me teaching you this. It is that you must never teach this to any of your friends. The jutsu is classified as a kenjutsu for a reason. The chakra it takes for you to use the jutsu is enormous. If your friends tried, they could potentially end up dead. This is only safe for you to use because of your high reserves. Naruto's eyes widened considerably, the gravity of what his older brother was saying sinking in. The jutsu is the Kage Bunshin. Kakashi demonstrated the hand signs, though unlike all those years ago, he could do it with some speed and still trust that Naruto would see them. Naruto resumed his place in the field and performed the jutsu. Immediately 5 clones popped up. It was unheard of, a boy not even a genin getting a jounin technique on the first try. Out of interest, how much chakra did you try to use? Kakashi asked, trying to get a feel for Naruto's chakra level. Oh, only about the same amount that I used for 2 Bunshin. It was Kakashi's turn to go wide-eyed. He has that much chakra. If he couldn't do the water walking and tree walking exercise, Kakashi would have said Naruto had the worst chakra control in history. I think I get it now. He opens the gate to his chakra and then closes it to the level he needs it, which is why he can do the water walking and tree climbing. But when he opens it for the Bunshin, the bit that escapes is already too much for that jutsu. It just means we are going to have to get him to control how rapidly he opens the gate to his chakra. Kakashi had gained an understanding on his little brother's chakra control, level and usage, just by teaching him one jutsu. Naruto, feeling content that he could now pass, went to bed and waited for tomorrow to come. The following day found Naruto and his classmates in the Ninja Academy each waiting for their chance to prove themselves worthy a genin of Konoha. Iruka and Mizuki walked in the door. Iruka was the one to address for the last time as a class. All of you listen. The road has been long and many of us have had to put up with our share of trials before getting to this point. In just a few moments you will all be administered your genin tests. If you do pass you will be awarded your Hitaiite. This caused a stir amongst all the students. If Shino Abirame would come forward with me and Ami would go with Mizuki, then we would get the testing underway. At this, Naruto's head along with Sasuke and Ino's head all slammed on the desk multiple times. What in the hell do you three think you're doing? Sakura asked, puzzled by the behavior. The three looked at each other before Sasuke spoke for them all. The test is in alphabetical order. After an hour or so there were only 2 people left in the room, Sasuke and Naruto. Sasuke had let Ino go before him with Mizuki. Iruka came out not long after, so no words could be exchanged between the two. Naruto was left on his own until Mizuki came out to test him. Upon seeing the only examinee left, a very vindictive smile came across Mizuki's face, how he was going to enjoy making the demon brat fail. Right, the Naruto, the rules are simple. You need an average of 70% to pass. Failure in any one area will automatically disqualify you from the exam. Please demonstrate throwing accuracy with these 10 kunai. A bullseye is worth 10 marks, the perfect score is 100. Naruto looked around and saw marks from his thrown kunai to the left, right, above and on the roof around the target. Hell, there were even some behind the throw line. Scoring a perfect 100, Naruto didn't even worry about that art of the test. The next part consisted of a taijutsu battle where Naruto and Mizuki would battle. Rules: you may not hide for the duration of the match. You must either be present to attack or defend. Any taijutsu style is allowed. The match duration is 2 minutes, or if you can land a blow on me. Full marks will be awarded to those that can either last the 2 minutes or land a hit. Naruto had started out with grand ideas of ending the match by landing a hit, but soon found that Mizuki was far too good an opponent, so he settled for seeing the timer out. Finally, we test your capability of doing the 3 academy jutsu. They can be performed in any order. A simple demonstrated or not demonstrated is all that is awarded in this section. Naruto used the kawarimi on a nearby book, getting ticked off as demonstrated. Next was Henge. He transformed into a replica of his older brother, complete with his book and everything. The next one was the kicker, he was sure of it. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Naruto cried out, shocking Mizuki that he knew such a high-level jutsu. Mizuki still grinned. Naruto, I asked you to perform the Bunshin, not the Kage Bunshin. Please demonstrate the correct jutsu. But I can't do the jutsu. Why should it matter anyway? I performed a higher-level jutsu. He argued his point, knowing full well that perfect scores in other rounds would not make up for a 0 in the final one. Well, then you fail. The words seemed like a slap across the face to Naruto. He left the room almost in tears. Sitting on the swing, Naruto stared into space until a shadow blocked his light. Listen, I know I was hard, but that is only because I must officially say whether or not you can do the required jutsu. Naruto simply nodded mutely in understanding. That being said, there is an unofficial test that you may take in order to pass the exam, almost like a supplementary. Naruto looked up, hardly daring to believe his luck. This last test is a test of stealth. You must obtain the giant scroll kept in the Hokage's office. Success is deemed as getting to the forest undetected. Failure is getting caught any time before I see you with the scroll. It was too good to be true. A stealth mission. He had been trained in this for the last 8 years. This was something he could do. He went home to prepare, putting on the set of dark clothes that he rarely ever wore. Orange may have been his favorite color, but there was a time and a place for everything, and a jumpsuit that screamed "Here I am" was not well suited for a stealth mission. Hours later, the entire shinobi population remaining in Konoha was looking for Naruto Uzumaki. He had played many pranks in the past, but this was unspeakable. He had stolen the scroll containing the techniques of the past Hokages, as well as many other village secrets. Naruto could be found reading through this scroll while he waited for Mizuki-sensei. The forest around him looked like it has been torn asunder by mini explosions. Apparently he had been practicing one of the jutsu. When he first started reading, he was ecstatic at all the high-level jutsu that he had found in the scroll. His brain was only half working at the time. Wow, look at all the jutsu. This scroll must be seriously valuable. Wait, Aniki said to ask questions, they may even be able to save your life. So then why would Mizuki-sensei want me to steal a highly valuable scroll for the sake of a test? Isn't it more likely that they would use a dummy scroll instead? This must be a setup of some sort. Correct you are, Naruto. Mizuki exclaimed from the trees. Do you know how badly I've wanted to watch you fail? Yet every time, you would just scrape through a mark on your academic tests that kept you in the academy. Now I finally have a chance at true power, and in the process I'm going to kill you, the bane of Konoha. Before you die, would you like to know why it is that you were hated beaten when you were younger? Stop right there, Mizuki, that is forbidden information. At the moment your charges rest at manipulating a pre-genin into crime. Mention that secret, and it will be over. I will kill you where you stand. Ha, like you ever could. Iruka. Before Mizuki could even react, Iruka had a fist in his gut. Putting some distance between the two, Iruka jumped back to his original position some 20 meters right of Naruto. Based on the speed that Iruka had, Mizuki had decided he was outmatched. His only hope was to create a distraction and escape. He still was intent on harming Naruto as much as humanly possible. It started with the giant shuriken that he threw. Iruka looked on in horror as the shuriken sped towards Naruto, who was dumbstruck by the night's events. It had too much power and weight to be stopped in a catch. The only other option was to block it with his body. Naruto came to his senses when he saw Iruka flash in front of him, only to cough blood into his face. Mizuki started talking. Well, as I was saying, would you like to know why the villagers hate you? Not even giving him time to respond, Mizuki continued his torture. Do you remember the lesson that we had on the Yondaime Hokage? Well, it was a lie what we told you that day. The fox could never be defeated, it was too powerful. He opted to seal it instead, into a human baby. That baby I was you. You bear the scorn of the village because you are the thing that killed so many people all those years ago. Something that had been long forgotten rushed to the front of Naruto's mind, a dream or nightmare, where a giant fox was rampaging inside a cage, looking right through him as though he wasn't there. Was that not a dream? Was that somehow real? Naruto! Don't listen! You are not the fox. You are Naruto Uzumaki, and I'm telling you to take that scroll back to the Hokage. I can't fight with you here, there is too much worry that you'll get hurt in the process. Naruto fled the scene, trails of hot tears escaping his eyes. While running away, he had the strongest urge to return. It was something he couldn't describe. Then, in a moment of clarity, something rang through his head. It was Kakashi's voice. Those who abandon the mission are scum, those who abandon their comrades are lower than that. His voice rang through his head over and over like it was his conscience. In an instant his mind was made up. He had returned to the clearing to see Iruka not faring so well. After he had taken the shuriken to the back, he had slowed down considerably to a level Mizuki could handle. Mizuki sneered as he saw Naruto approach again. Drawn to a battle, Naruto, perhaps that is bloodlust of the fox within you. Say what you will about me, but you will die here for targeting me, then nearly killing my sensei. Mizuki was laughing. What could the boy do? He didn't even know how to do the bunshin. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. In his early celebrations and mocking of the pre-genin, he had completely forgotten about that technique. He was now surrounded by a clearing filled with what had to be at least 1,000 Naruto clones. The clones made short work of Mizuki. As Naruto was turning to go to Iruka, Mizuki's body started to emit a vile chakra, while a black flame pattern crept up the side of his neck and across the rest of his body. He raised himself off the ground and launched himself not at Naruto, but at Iruka. Iruka was sent crashing through the undergrowth from a particularly vicious knock to the head. Something inside Naruto just snapped. He couldn't tell what was happening, but he could feel power flowing through his body. His nails seemed longer, almost like claws. His teeth had lengthened and the whisker marks on the side of his face were now more pronounced than ever. Naruto launched at Mizuki, a clawed hand extended, catching him across the throat. Blood sprayed out of both the carotid and the jugular and across the field. There was no chance of recovery. Dully, Naruto thought to himself. I killed him. The full impact of what he had just done had not hit him yet. Then his body felt drained. He collapsed to his knees, knowing nothing of the real world after that. Mindscape. Naruto now remembered this passageway from his last visit here. It looked different now. Last time it was more like a sewer, this time it was more like a grimy castle wall. There was less water and everything looked to be in a better state of repair. He followed the corridor around again to find the same cage with the piece of paper presenting the kanji 4 seal on it. The fox was still in there, though this time it was not on a rampage. I simply looked exhausted. It spoke in a voice that, while loud, had a distinctly female ring to it. Greetings, Naruto. My name is Rei Kajirinai. Don't you mean Kyubi no Yuko? Naruto interrupted. That is my title, not my name. As much as I would like to do this now, I am truly exhausted. I would just like to sleep. I will bring you back here when I am fully rested. Naruto wasn't given a choice as Rei laid her head down onto her paws to sleep. 3 days later. Naruto was at Ichiraku's with both Kakashi and Irika. They were talking over a bowl of ramen each. Naruto, I didn't get the chance to give you this the other day. Congratulations on passing your genin exam, Irika proudly stated as he placed the hitite over Naruto's forehead. Irika left the pair to have some alone time, which was spent mostly in a comfortable silence until Naruto felt as though he had something to tell his elder brother. Aniki, do you remember when you asked me all those years ago what my dream for the future was? This had Kakashi interested, so he stopped eating and turned to face his little brother. Well, I've decided that my goal is gonna be to get everyone to see me as Naruto Uzumaki, not the nine-tailed demon fox. He uttered the last part in a very lower voice so that no one would hear. I want them to view me as a human and more than anything for them to trust me and respect me as a shinobi. The job with the ultimate amount of trust and respect around here is Kage. So I'm gonna aim to be Hokage someday. Kakashi smiled at hearing the dream, a very worthy one indeed. Naruto, someday you may just achieve it, Kakashi thought to himself. Later that night. Mindscape. He was drawn into his mindscape for the third time in his life. He wasted no time in getting to Rei's sealed area. It's nice to finally meet you at least. Now that I'm full of energy, I feel like actually having a conversation. The first time didn't count, I was too tired to talk. The first time? Rei, that was the second time I've seen you, Naruto corrected. When else have you seen me? She asked, wondering why she didn't remember the first encounter. It was when I was little. You looked like you were being driven insane. You stared at the spot I was standing in, only you looked like you were looking right through me. I'm sorry you had to see me in such a state. Forgive me for doing this, but was there a reason you attacked Konoha? You don't seem like you have the temperament to do that sort of thing. Well, thank you for saying so, and I didn't choose to attack Konoha, I was forced. Forced how? What could possibly be powerful enough to control a bijou? The eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, only one man possess it, Madara Uchiha. He locked me into a state of nearly perpetual bloodlust. You outburst using some of my power must have finally freed me from whatever technique he used in the first place. Okay, that explains why you attacked, but not why you showed up. From what I've read, demons stay in another realm. What made you come here in the first place? This was a question that Rei really would rather not have answered. I was net here by Kami to be your companion over the ages, she responded carefully. My companion over the ages? What are you talking about? Naruto asked, dumbfounded. There was no easy way to put this. She'd have to say it outright. Naruto, you are immortal. I was sent as an immortal being, so you would have at least one friend to always be there with you, when all your mortal friends have died. Mindscape. She had dropped the bomb. Rei had told Naruto why she came to his world in the first place. She was to be his companion for the eternity that he lived. Naruto was not sure what to feel. He had just been told that he was immortal. What should he feel? Joy. Joy at being able to never die. Fear? The fear of being alone after all his friends had gone. How? Was all he could weakly ask. I don't know. All I know is that you are immortal. You're lying. The statement aroused Rei's curiosity. How did you come to that conclusion? Confused as to what possible logic he could have used to make such a statement. You said that you were to be my companion as I was immortal. If that were true, you would have only appeared on the exact day of my birth, but you were around for weeks before I was even born. Therefore, if I was not alive, there would be no way for you to tell whether I was immortal. That is incorrect. I appeared on the day of your hastening, she said as though it explained everything. Hastening? What do you mean? What is that? He asked, not understanding her explanation in the least. The time of hastening is when the soul of the baby enters the body. This happens on the last day of the 26th week of gestation. It is for this reason that it is considered a crime to kill an unborn baby beyond this point. You are effectively committing murder, and nothing can be more innocent than an unborn child. From this point on, the baby is considered truly alive as it houses a soul, and this is how we were able to tell that you were immortal. I see. I apologize. Well, what happens now? Nothing. You simply live your life however way you want to. You can take risks that most would never consider, though using caution is always advised. Rei counseled. Caution? What for? I'm invincible? Naruto asked. You are not invincible, only immortal. As such, you can still be defeated, or have you so swiftly forgotten what the Yondaime did to me? Rei responded in a very sharp manner. I understand. Naruto replied, somewhat sobered by the reality check that he was given. Naruto, we have discussed everything that I needed to discuss with you. Even if you have further questions, I don't feel as though I would have answers for you. Besides, it's almost time for you to wake up. We can talk later. Real world. Naruto woke up and looked around his bedroom rather groggily. Was that all a dream? He asked himself. It was no dream, Naruto. Every bit of it was as real as the bed you are sitting on. Rei, how is it I'm able to hear you? I'm not by the seal anymore. Naruto asked, a little shocked. We have always shared a mental connection, though I was never in any state to use it. At the moment it is rather weak. I'm actually shouting at you and your voice is rather faint. With time the connection will grow stronger, and we will be able to hear each other quite clearly, and you won't have to actually talk to for me to hear, only think of what you are saying. All this will happen in time, she explained. Should I tell Aniki? He asked. I wouldn't, not until you at least there is a need to tell him. There isn't any good that could come by informing him, she advised. Kakashi was already out. Naruto had assumed that he had gone to his day job as a Hokage's guard. It was something that always made Naruto laugh, the most powerful ninja in the village hiring guards. More like he used the ANBU that guarded him as a personal messenger service. Not bothering to check the time, Naruto left the house to head for the academy. He still tried to beat his best time every time he went there, as Kakashi had suggested all those years ago. He had started out at 15 minutes to get there on his first day. It was now his goal to break the 5-minute mark, something that Kakashi could do without even thinking. He went to his regular classroom, to find that nearly the whole class had passed the exam. He cast a look around the room. There had to be at least 30 people in the room. He walked over to his gang. All 11 other members were already present. Sasuke, Shikamaru, Chuji and Kiba were all discussing the potential team compositions. Shino and Sai, another boy who had joined their group over the years, were not contributing to the discussion, opting to listen instead. Hinata, Ino and Sakura were discussing potential Jounin sensei appointments. Ami and Masao, another two that joined the gang after the Sasuke changed his attitude and became more amenable to approach, opted to only listen as they didn't have anything to contribute. Both came from civilian families, Sakura did as well, but there was something to be said for having your mother as head of the civilian council. Naruto greeted them all with simple good morning. Before choosing to listen to snippets of both conversations, not really feeling like joining in this morning, he had a lot to think about. He wasn't given long to contemplate anything as his friends broke into his thoughts. It was Hinata that had spoken first. Naruto-kun, is it true, you stole the Forbidden Scroll a few days ago? Father came home and mentioned that you were not far from being executed for such a crime. Well, it is true, but I only did it because Mizuki failed me on the exam. One thought went simultaneously through all of his friends' heads. Bunshin no Jutsu. He told me that it was an extra exam and that it was a stealth test. Well, I took it. Kakashi Onai can train me in stealth from a very young age. It should have been a piece of cake. Well, it was actually. I got the scroll really easily. When I was supposed to meet Mizuki, he tried to kill me and take the scroll. Iruka-sensei took the hit from the Fuma Shuriken. He was in no condition to fight, and when I saw him injured I snapped. I knocked the stuffing out of him. Naruto purposefully left out the part where he ran away. Mentioning that would bring questions about why he ran away. He didn't feel like telling his friends about the Kyuubi being sealed within him. How did you beat Mizuki? He is a Chunin. This was Shino now adding his thoughts. Simple, a new jutsu. Naruto answered, here watch. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Naruto exclaimed while forming a cross-shaped seal with his hands. Immediately 5 Narutos popped up in a cloud of smoke. His friends were amazed when they each picked up an item in the classroom just to emphasize that they could interact with their environment. Their amazement was short-lived as the clones were dispelled when Iruka walked in. Right, I don't have much to say, simply good luck in embarking on your ninja pathway. Now for the team announcements. This was the part that everyone was waiting for. Finding out who their teammates were and who was going to be their Jounin sensei. Team 1 will be Sai Komatsu, Ino Yamanaka and Ami Tanaka. Jounin sensei will be Enko Mitarashi. Team 2 will be. The group decided to let their attention wander until they heard another name that they actually cared about. A short while later they had their interest piqued as the herd. Naruto Uzumaki, Sasuke Uchiha and Sakura Haruna will comprise Team 7 with Kakashi Hatake as Jounin sensei. Team 8 will be Kiba Inuzuka, Hinata Hyuga and Shino Aburame. Jounin Sensei is Kurinai Yuhi. Team 9 is still in circulation from last year, so Team 10 will be Shikamaru Nara, Masao Makamachi, and Shuji Akimichi. Jounin Sensei will be Asuma Saratobi. As the Jounin Sensei's names were announced, they entered the room either by sunshin, or by the conventional methods, like through the window or dropping from the roof. There was only one oddball that decided to use the door. They counted only 8 Jounin Sensei, one was missing. Naruto automatically knew what to expect when his brother was announced as his sensei. The others got up and went off with their senseis, presumably to get to know not only their senseis but their teammates as well. Well, we've got a bit of time to kill before our sensei shows up. What are we going to do? Naruto asked, so they wouldn't be bored stiff for 2 hours. How do you know that we have any time at all? Sakura asked, confused that he could be so sure of a person before he had met them. I live with Kakashi. If it's not an A-ranked mission or higher or a meeting with the Hokage, he shows up 2 hours late. So what are we going to do while we kill time? May as well train, nothing too hard. Perhaps chakra control exercises, or maybe light sparring. It was Sasuke to suggest the pastime. Light sparring sounds good to me. I hate chakra control exercise. Naruto cast his vote. I'm fine with whatever, so long as we pass the time in a way better than sitting around. Sakura put in her 2 cents worth. They took to the academy schoolyard and held something of a round robin where each person fought the other 2 at least once and tried to fight the 2 others in a tag team as well. They continued for quite a while until Kakashi's shun shined into the arena and called them to sit by the swing in the yard. Kakashi sat on the swing while his 3 students lazed around on the floor around him, tired from their sparring. It's good you can use your time productively even when not being instructed to do so, but why don't I get straight to the point? My name is Kakashi Hatake. I am to be your Jounin Sensei. Why don't you introduce yourselves? Kakashi greeted them. It is only polite that we know something about you before we go spilling anything about ourselves, especially when you asked. It was Sakura that made the point. She wasn't sure how she was supposed to introduce herself, but found a better way of saying I don't get what you want to know. Alright then, as you know, my name is Kakashi Hatake. My likes include reading, he said with a slight pause in his sentence. I don't really have any dislikes, no real hobbies to mention. Only training and my dream for the future. Well, that's rather personal. By the end of the introduction, Sasuke and Sakura hadn't really learned that much, only Naruto had some inkling about their sensei, and even that wasn't a great deal. Sakura volunteered to go next. My name is Sakura Haruno. I like reading, training, and getting stronger. I dislike people who underestimate me. Hobbies include training and reading. I don't really have a dream for the future. Sakura faltered slightly at the end. Don't worry, with time you may develop one. If you share with us in the future, we will try to help you along your path. Kakashi counseled. For a laid-back guy, he really did come out with some pearls of wisdom once in a while. Sasuke went next to fill in the silence that followed Kakashi's minor speech. My name is Sasuke Uchiha. I like training, learning new jutsu, and tomatoes. Nobody was expecting that from one of the most stoic people that they knew and proceeded to face fault. My dislikes include arse kissers and fangirls. My dream for the future, well, I have 2. The first is to resurrect the Uchiha clan. The second is to work hard, so that when I meet my brother, I can look him the eye as an equal, not the one desperately trying to catch up. Kakashi nodded. Admirable aspirations, Kakashi thought to himself. He had expected Sasuke to start talking about avenging the Uchiha clan, but instead he wants to live up to his brother's name. With the attitude that he currently has, anything is possible. Next came Naruto, the one Kakashi knew the most about, yet he let him do the introduction anyway. This was as much for the teammates as it was for the Jounin Sensei. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. My likes include ramen, training, and my older brother. Kakashi smiled at this. My dislikes include the time it takes for ramen to cook, people who judge before they even give you a chance, and my older brother's tardy ways. My dream for the future is to be Hokage. Right, so I have a potentially powerful kunoichi that is yet undirected. A boy that wants to resurrect his lost clan and be seen equal to the greatest of his clan, and one who wants to be recognized as the strongest in the village. This team has massive potential. Kakashi made his assessment in his head, unknowingly smiling at the team makeup. Well, now the introductions are over, I have a few notices. The first is that I want us all to meet at Training Ground 7 for a survival test. Before you ask, you don't need to bring any supplies other than a basic ninja side pouch. After all, it is me you are going to survive from. And by the way, I wouldn't eat if I were you. Kakashi watched with a sick grin as all of his students' faces twisted in horror, particularly Naruto, as he knew just how powerful Kakashi was. Well, if you don't have any questions, then I'm going to make myself scarce. He promptly shined out of there before another word was said. Sasuke and Sakura were about to leave when Naruto called out to them. Hold on, you two. I just want to tell you that you should eat something tomorrow, Naruto advised. He said not to eat anything. Sakura deadpanned. Think of that more like advice. Besides, I know how powerful he is. Fighting against him is asking for trouble. Doing so on an empty stomach is suicide. With his message passed on, Naruto left the academy, Sasuke and Sakura following suit shortly after. When arriving home, Naruto found Kakashi making dinner, ramen for a change. This always put Naruto in a good mood. Naruto approached his older brother and carefully asked his question. Aniki, today's introductions reminded me of something you told me many years ago. You said that when I knew my dream for the future you would tell me yours. Will you still tell me? Kakashi looked at his little brother and realized that he had indeed said that all those years ago. My dream? There isn't much to it, though you will understand it a lot better later on. My dream is to convince several people to return to the village, Kakashi confided. You're right, I don't get it. Maybe someday I will. Maybe when I meet these people, Naruto replied. He didn't want to think about it for too long. After all, he had to get ready for tomorrow. Surviving his older brother will be no easy task. The next morning, Kakashi was awoken by a very loud shout. YOSH. Kakashi, wake up. Naruto tells me you are planning on being late for your first true team meeting. This is most unyouthful. There beside Guy Mato was his young protege and carbon copy, Rock Lee. In an equally loud voice he screamed. Ji-sensei is right. You are being most unyouthful. It is very unyouthful to act in an unyouthful way. That made no sense whatsoever, Kakashi thought groggily. Oh, who cares, it's only Naruto anyway. Through the directions of a certain aging Hokage, Naruto had discovered that to get Kakashi to be on time, anything all you had to do was henjin to Mato Guy or his student, and Kakashi would be where you want him in a flash. Kai! Kakashi exclaimed. The image of Guy and Lee did not disappear. Kai! He tried again, only for the same result. YOSH. Kakashi, stop with this unyouthful behavior. You must get to your team immediately. Guy boomed at top volume. The cogs were turning in Kakashi's head rather slowly. If the release technique doesn't work, then it must either be a really powerful henge or genjutsu, that or. I heard double exclamation mark. Kakashi let out a scream of pure terror that could be heard all over Konoha. In a certain training ground, a blonde laughed at the sound of the scream, while his two teammates just gave him a funny look, not getting the joke. The real Guy and Lee in my house, in my room, while I was asleep, defiling my humble abode with speeches of youthfulness. Kakashi thought quite wildly to himself. He bolted, got dressed as fast as he could, and shined to training grounds. Guy had not seen his eternal rival move so fast in all his time knowing him. At the training grounds, Kakashi suddenly appeared in a swirl of leaves. He gained his bearings and found Naruto. Pointing an accusing finger at the blonde, he practically screamed. You're evil. How could you do such a thing, to your beloved Aniki of all people? I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. Well, maybe you'll learn to be on time from now on, Naruto replied with a very large grin about his face. You will get yours, don't you worry, Naruto, Kakashi threatened almost maniacally. Well, now that we are all here, I have a test. This is to see if you will remain genin, or whether you will attend the academy for an entire year more before becoming genin. The test is simple to pass. All you have to do is obtain one of the bells from my waist. To make them realize exactly what bells he was talking about, he jingled them to draw their attention to the tiny bells attached to a sting. You have until lunchtime to acquire them. Begin. Upon his command, they all disappeared into the dense woodland nearby. Well, they can all hide quite well. Naruto should have no problem, but the other two surprised me, Kakashi thought out aloud. Elsewhere, Naruto was sitting with Sasuke and Sakura. We have to take him as a trio. It's the only way we are going to get those bells of his waist, he surmised. What about the one who will go back when we get the bells? Sakura asked, worried about having to go through the academy again. Sasuke spoke up this time. Think about what he said. Never once did he address us individually. He only said that to pass we had to obtain one of the bells on his waist. It's like a guarding mission, just in reverse. 3 people working together to protect a client. One person might take on any assailants while the other 2 are hanging back to take any that get through the initial blockade. Which one is the one completing the mission objective? All of them, even though they have different roles. Well, at least that's how I hope that he is seeing it. Naruto nodded in understanding. Well, I have a plan. It was hours later. Only 30 minutes before the end of the test, and the trio had yet to make a move. All of a sudden Kakashi sensed some movement, and saw Naruto clones en masse. Well, this is my chance to get even, Kakashi thought to himself as he watched the mass of orange approach. He tore into the mass, dispelling clones left, right, and front. As he was fighting, the real Naruto snuck up behind him and latched on, holding Kakashi in place. Like you always said, Sensei, never let your opponent get behind you, Naruto advised, thinking about all the advice Kakashi had ever given him. You know what? You're absolutely right, Naruto, but you would do well to listen to your own advice, Kakashi replied before poofing out of existence. The real Kakashi was behind Naruto, blurring through a set of hand seals ending in the Tora. Instead of announcing a Katon Jutsu as Sasuke and Sakura expected, he proceeded to jam his fingers up Naruto's backside, sending him flying. While wincing in pain for their blonde teammate's misfortune, a genjutsu was laid by Sakura. It simply showed Sasuke attempting to engage Kakashi in a taijutsu match. They figured it would be only moments before Kakashi worked out that it was a genjutsu. It was in this time that Sasuke would rush out as well, in attempt to steal the bells while his sensei was still caught in the jutsu. A rather simple plan, then again some of the simplest plans often work the best. The only hitch was the timing necessary on both Sakura and Sasuke's part. If Sakura laid the genjutsu too early, it would be noticed and swiftly dispelled. Too late, and Sasuke would run out and gain the full attention of their sensei, thus wasting Naruto's noble sacrifice. Should Sasuke run out before the genjutsu was placed, then he would have to deal with a very powerful ninja with his full concentration on him. Too late, and he would miss the narrow window of opportunity that Sakura had given him. Both parts were timed perfectly. The only problem was that his bells were so small that there was nothing to grab onto while he was fighting a genjutsu. Sasuke made his decision. He grabbed not only the bells but a handful of Kakashi's A and BU style pants and indiscriminately ripping the both of them away. Without part of his waistband holding up his pants, the rest of his kit fell to the ground, revealing floral design boxers. Sakura turned red. Sasuke was dumbstruck, though nobody could work out if it was because of his sensei's choice in underwear, or simply because he was faced with a pants-off Kakashi. Naruto, for his part, was trying to laugh. Well, that's what you get for sticking your fingers up my arse, he taunted his older brother. A second later the time went off, signaling midday had arrived and that the test was officially over. Kakashi gathered his students for some feedback. Very good, all of you, you all pass. And Sasuke, very good reasoning on why I should let you pass. All three looked utterly perplexed. Nobody had spoken yet. What? You think that I didn't know where you were from the start? You guys may be talented for genin, but there is a reason I am a jounin. Sakura was the first to catch on. Wait, if you knew what we were going to do, you could have stopped it, and we would have never got the bells. It was never about the bells, Sakura, Kakashi informed. That was merely a test to see if you could work as a team. Your teammates are your friends and your allies. You are their lifeline, as they are yours. To quote a friend, those who abandon the mission are scum. Those who abandon their comrades are lower than that. This is something that I take very seriously. No matter what, I won't ever abandon you. Now that we have done our exam, we have to report into the Hokage. He has an announcement regarding all teams. Just as they were walking away, Naruto stopped to ponder something. Kakashi-sensei, you remember how you promised to teach me the super awesome, ultra flashy jutsu? Well, there is no such thing, is there? Kakashi looked at Naruto, wondering what the hell he was on about before realizing. He means that bogus jutsu name I made up to calm him down? Kakashi's face blew up, trying to contain his laughter. He failed spectacularly. He was on all fours, banging the ground in laughter. After a short explanation to Sasuke and Sakura, they too were rolling around on the floor, holding their sides. Shut up! Naruto yelled at them. I was like 4 years old. How was I to know? Seeing that he wasn't going to get through to them, he walked off in a huff. A short while later we find not only Team 7 but Teams 1, 8, and 10 at the Hokage's office waiting for the announcement about their teams. Seeing that the last of the teams had arrived, Sarutobi began. First of all, congratulations on passing your Jounin instructor's exams and becoming official genin of Konoha. Now the announcement that will affect you all is as follows. The teams of 1, 7, 8, and 10 are hereby disbanded until further notice. There was an outcry from all in the room. They were comfortable with their teams and wanted nothing changed. Sarutobi held up a wizened hand to stem the complaints. Despite the situation, all noise stopped. He was the Kage for a reason. In a manner of speaking, this matter was taken out of my hands. The civilian council as well as the village elders requested, or more precisely, demanded special training be given to a member of your number. Me, Sasuke voiced. It wasn't a question, it was a statement. He knew how so many worshipped him, and how he hated it. It was one of the things that Itachi had hated the most. Worship for belonging to the Uchiha clan, as if there was no greater honor. As such, instead of giving only one of your members special training, I have removed the teams to provide all of you with special training. Some will receive instruction in areas where others will not. Naruto raised his voice this time. In other words, you're not gonna waste time teaching us pointless things if we will never use it, or simply can't. Like me with Genjutsu. That aside, there are many reasons for doing this. The first is to satisfy the demands of the council. If it were only the civilian council, I could have ignored the request, but seeing as the recommendation comes from all 3 of the village's elders, I don't have that luxury. The second reason for doing this is that you all maintain the bond that you have developed since your academy days. The teams I put you on may not necessarily be your permanent ones. You were just placed with people that I thought you would have the hardest time working with. Sarutobi eyed everyone before realizing that they were silent, and waiting for him to continue. Well then, on to what you will be learning and from whom. You will all learn to develop the 3 academy basics of ninjutsu, taijutsu and genjutsu. Only Naruto will be exempt from genjutsu because it is, as he already said, he will never be able to use it. Ninjutsu will be taken by Kakashi Hatake, genjutsu will be taken by Kurenai Yuhi, and taijutsu will be run in conjunction with Meito Gai's Gen and Cell. This prevents overspecialization, and you will be able to deal with any kind of situation out in the field in the future. Someone decided to interrupt the Hokage, wondering about the team placements, an interruption that he was glad for as he was quickly growing tired of talking for so long. Hokage-sama, will there be any changes to the teams? Enko asked, wondering about the placement of Ino on her team instead of the traditional Ino Shikacho team. Actually yes, Ino and Masao will be swapping teams. There were reasons that I had them on those teams in the first place, but they blew away any doubts I had by passing their Genin exam. A simple nod from Enko told her leader that she understood and accepted the change in her team composition, when teams were actually active. This is only the basic training everybody will receive. Hinata, Shino and Kiba will receive training from Konoha's tracking unit. Masao Makamachi, Ami Tanaka and Saikamatsu seem to all have an attraction towards weapons usage, so they will receive extra training in this area from Enko Midarashi. The Ino Shikacho team will receive training from their fathers in team tactics and in information gathering. Everyone looked excited by the prospect of learning such interesting thing from the given senseis. Sakura and Naruto looked a little disheartened at not having a specialty area in which to train in. Sarutobi noticed the look and would address it privately. He turned to look at Sasuke and gave him a choice. You are supposed to take all the areas with your classmates, but I'm going to let you pick what you will and will not do. With all due respect, Hokage-sama, I will take all fields, except for the training with the Ino Shikacho team. That training is specifically set up for them. My brother was never 1 week in one area. If I truly want to compare to him, then I must have a strong basis in all areas. Very well then. Now that you all understand what you will be doing, this is how I will work. The first 3 days of each week will be dedicated to one of the 3 base disciplines, taijutsu, genjutsu or ninjutsu. The next day will be training for the Ino Shikacho team and weapons training with Enko Midarashi. The day after will be the tracking training for Team 8. If you feel you want to look into another area of expertise, simply to build your knowledge, then all you have to do is meet at the training ground in the morning with the specialty team. Sarutobi paused to collect his thoughts. The 5th day will comprise of missions where you will randomly be assigned into groups to foster teamwork amongst all of you. The 6th day will be Churka exercises. This will build control as well as your reserves. I should mention that all through the week you will be doing the most grueling work imaginable to build up your physical stamina. While Meito Gai cannot be instructing the whole time as he has his own genin team to tend to, he has been kind enough to provide us with a list of exercises that he has suggested to train your bodies to their peak. Lastly, the 7th day is a day of rest. There will be no training as it is important to allow your bodies time to adjust and grow with your training regimen. If there are no questions, everybody except for Naruto and Sakura are dismissed. Everybody milled out of the office except for 3, Naruto, Kakashi and Sakura. Kakashi opted to stay back as both of his students were being spoken to. The Hokage first turned to Sakura. Sakura, I was wondering if you would be interested in becoming a medical ninja. You certainly seem to have the chakra control and a head that could easily get around the inner workings of the human body. Well, I don't have a specialized area yet, and if you think that it would be a good idea, then I'm more than happy to give it a try, Hokage-sama. Very well, then report to the hospital tomorrow. By then I will have arranged for a sensei for you to learn from. Sensing the finality in his tone, Sakura left, leaving only Naruto, Kakashi and the Hokage in the room. Well, Naruto, it seems without genjutsu and a speciality you have some areas to cover. That is why I have arranged for you to learn a sword style with Gecko Hate. He is a recently retired ANBU that I have arranged to teach you sword skills. And the final area to cover requires a test. Reaching into his desk, he drew out a small piece of paper. Naruto, this is chakra paper. It responds to your chakra element. Seeing the confused look on Naruto's face, he realized that a better explanation was in order. Chakra has an elemental affinity, sometimes multiple affinities. These elements are water, fire, wind, lightning, and earth. When you channel chakra into this paper, it will respond accordingly. Water, and it will dampen; fire, and it will burn; wind will cause it to split; it will crumple if it is lightning, and it will crumble to dust if earth. Curious, Naruto instantly grabbed the paper and channeled some chakra into it. The paper split very evenly before starting to burn. The split happened so forcefully it was ridiculous, but that paled in comparison to the burning. It started out as a smolder before the paper burst into a white flame, causing Sarutobi and Kakashi to go wide-eyed. Well, it seems that you have a very high affinity for both wind and fire jutsu. It just so happens that Asuma is a wind user and I am a fire element. We will teach you jutsu from the corresponding areas. Now Naruto had his 2 areas to occupy himself while everybody did their own thing. He was more than happy. In fact, he was ecstatic about learning from the Hokage himself. As Kakashi and Naruto left using the door, Sarutobi looked at Naruto's retreating back and thought to himself. I know your letter told me that Naruto needed his letter by the time he was a genin, but I honestly don't think that he is ready for that. At least I'm providing him some decent training instead of your clan's techniques. Minato, Kushina, please forgive me. Naruto, I hope you will understand and not hate me for too long. And so it was that the group trained and trained. True to his word, the genin nearly collapsed every day after their workouts. The work from Guy was ridiculous. Added to that, anyone that trained with Enko nearly lost a limb from her training methods, which were more easily likened to torture methods. If anyone thought that Kakashi was going to be lazy in training them in ninjutsu, they were in for a rude awakening. Those that thought Kurina Yohi would take it easy on them due to her gentle and kind nature were also shocked at how much of a slave driver she could be. From either area of specialty, many nearly ended up on the verge of chakra exhaustion. Naruto was the only one who could move after Kakashi's sessions. Nobody survived Guy's taijutsu training methods. Even Naruto with his legendary stamina collapsed after such an intense workout. To their defense, there was only one person on Guy's team that could handle that as well, Rock Lee. Sakura applied herself very heavily to her studies in medical ninjutsu. It was staggering just how much she could remember after one session with her sensei in the area, Megumi Takani. In less than a week she had memorized what situation called for which jutsu and had learned the 2 most basic jutsu from Megumi. The first was Shosen Jutsu, used for healing cuts, bruises, and most forms of injury. The second was Dokamiki no Jutsu, used for extracting poisons. As Sarutobi had said, she had excellent chakra control which aided in learning the jutsu. Naruto was worked to the bone by Gekko Hate, Asuma, and his father, the Hokage. Gekko did not teach Naruto anything specific, only the correct way to swing a sword. It was one thing to swing a sword, but if the body parts were moved in the correct order, then the seeing could be all the more devastating. 1. Asuma and the Hokage left him near chakra depletion after every training session, which said quite a lot considering his near-infinite supply of chakra. So far he had learned Enden, Hozenka no Jutsu, and was on his way to learning Ryuka no Jutsu. He had mastered the Daitapa, though was struggling with actually forming a blade of wind for the Kaze no Yaiba. The 2 most enjoyable times that the group had together were performing missions to build their teamwork, and the chakra exercises. When the group first attempted the tree walking, it drove Naruto nuts that Hinata and Sakura could walk 3/4 of the tree on the first try and by the second managed to do the whole thing. Shino and Sai had the best luck out of the boys, though only getting halfway up. Kiba and Sasuke practically destroyed their trees by applying too much chakra, while Misao landed straight on her backside after using too little. The missions were for the most part enjoyable. The mission enjoyed the most was walking the Inuzuka dogs, while the most hated was catching Tora, a cat belonging to the fire daimyo's wife. It was Kiba's dearest wish to present that cat on a stick to Sasuke, who would then proceed to torch it with any one of his katan jutsu. He would then have loved to have fed the delicacy to the dogs in the Inuzuka kennel. It was early morning and the Rookie 12 was in the Hokage's office collecting mission assignments. Well, I have a pleasant surprise for you all. You all have enough D-rank missions under your belt to participate in AC rank. The missions are as follows. Team 1 will be heading to a small village to protect livestock from some bandits. Team 8 will be carrying a document from Konoha to Taki no Kuni, and Team 10 will be guiding a merchant from Kusa no Kuni to Konoha so he can sell his wares. Each team's sensei picked up the mission scroll before telling their team to meet at a gate in a short, while prepared for the mission. Team 7 remained in the office as they were yet to receive their mission. Thank you for waiting patiently while the other teams got their assignments. His words came not a moment too soon, as Naruto had been about to angrily ask about their C-rank mission. Your mission requires an introduction, he stated to the team before yelling to someone out of the room, send Tazuna-san in. A short man with gray hair walked in. Even from the distance they were at, it was still possible to smell the stench of alcohol about his as he entered the room. What's the idea? Giving me a girl to guard me back to my home? Before he had even blinked, all three genin were around him with a kunai pointed at a different vital point. Sasuke spoke first. We work as one. An insult to our teammate is the same as insulting us. We will not tolerate such a thing, he stated with a smirk. Besides, you've just seen our skills firsthand. Sakura piped up, rest assured that Kakashi-sensei is a jounin and can handle anything we cannot. She finished, lowering her weapon, her teammates following suit. Kakashi was proud, though you couldn't see it through the face mask. Alright, meet at the village's main gates in an hour. Pack only the essentials for a mission. In other words, some food, any weapons, and some camping supplies. 3 hours later. After Kakashi had managed to avoid Naruto for the 2 hours that he was late, the group had finally set off for Nami no Kuni. The trip was interspersed by little bits of chit-chat, some of which focusing on Tazuna's home village. So Tazuna, what is Nami no Kuni like? Sakura was the one who had asked. It's a peaceful little village. We're mainly based on fishing and there isn't any real threat of shinobi as we aren't a ninja village. A couple of hours through the mission, 4 people noticed a genjutsu in the form of a puddle on the ground. Well, 3 people noticed. Naruto, still not quite adept at actually detecting minor fluctuations of chakra, had his own process. It hasn't rained in days, it's been pretty bright, and the land is flat so that water isn't run off from somewhere. This is a trap. Thank Kami Aniki taught me to always question my surroundings. No sooner than Naruto had come to his conclusion, 2 figures emerged from the puddles and started attacking. They both had Kirigakure Hitayateshan, though they were slashed, indicating that they were Nukenin. They were dressed in black cloaks with a clawed gauntlet on opposing hands and a chain linking their other 2 hands. Their first move was to remove Kakashi. They did so almost effortlessly, wrapping him up in the chain before shredding him to pieces with a sharp tug at each end of the chain. Not even stopping after killing Kakashi, they turned their attention to Tazuna. The 3 genins didn't even get time to contemplate their sensei's death. They waited for their foes to come to them. Sakura stayed put and guarded Tazuna while Sasuke and Naruto were the ones to meet the enemy head-on. Sasuke simply got inside the wild slashes and strikes that one of the pair was dishing out, simply choosing to thrust the butt of his kunai into his throat, preventing him from breathing and stopping him in his tracks. In these vital few seconds, Sasuke knocked him out. Naruto parried the gauntlet of his opponent into a tree. With the chain now at full stretch and the mostly free opponent unconscious while his counterpart was struggling to free himself from the tree, the danger had now passed. Kakashi reappeared looking as calm as ever. You're alive? Tazuna was shocked. He had seen him get torn to shreds with his own eyes. Of course he is, Sakura admonished. If we genin could notice such an obvious trap, what do you think the odds on a jounin not noticing are? Slim to none is my guess. Great work, everybody. Naruto, you got careless, you have a cut in your hand. Their weapons have poison on them. I can deal with that. Megumi-sensei taught me the Dokamiki no Jutsu already, Sakura offered. Then please do so. I first have to question these 2 chunin, then depending on what they say I may have a few questions for you, Tazuna-san, that unless you want to save me the trouble and tell me why they were after you in the first place. Fine. Tazuna reluctantly agreed. I'm a bridge builder. I'm currently in the middle of a project that will link Nami no Kuni to the mainland. Well, there is a businessman that doesn't like the idea. His name is Gato. The shipping magnate? Kakashi asked, slightly intrigued. The same. Well, he controls the waters around Nami. He who controls the water controls everything. So I'm trying to build this bridge so we will be free of his terror. You do realize that you have knowingly broken our contract. Encountering a shinobi automatically bumps this up to a B rank mission. Should we encounter a jounin, then the mission status goes up to a rank. We are well within our rights to refuse the mission and turn back. Tazuna paled at the news. But if you do, we will never be free of Gato's reign. Please reconsider. I'll leave the decision to my students, Kakashi replied. The 3 genin all looked at each other. Naruto then spoke for them. I don't know about legalities all that much, but Kakashi-sensei did say those who abandon the mission are scum, those who abandon those in need are lower than that. If we turn back, we are both abandoning the mission and someone in need. I say we continue the mission. Agreed. Was all that was necessary from both Sasuke and Sakura. While those weren't my exact words, you summed it up pretty well. It looks like we are continuing. Kakashi summed up his group interaction and decided on the course of action to be taken. Tazuna let out a rather audible sigh of relief. For hours the troop walked, not really saying much. That was until Naruto decided to throw a kunai into a thicket of bushes. They went over to check what had tripped his senses. Upon seeing a small white rabbit, Sakura scolded him. Naruto, what are you trying to do? Scare me to death. Everyone is already on edge from the attack and now you've hurt the poor thing. Using Shosen Jutsu, she healed the nick in the rabbit's ear before setting it free. Kakashi was thinking on a far different wavelength. That's a snow rabbit. They only have white fur in the winter when there is low sun. It's now summer, so its fur should be brown. This rabbit was raised indoors, possibly for a Kawarimi Jutsu. Then he heard something as though it was flying through the air coming towards them. Get down! Was all he had time to roar at the other four. The three genin quickly ducked while Kakashi pulled Tazuna out of harm's way. Not a moment later a Zanbatsu flew overhead. Anyone that had been too late in ducking would have been decapitated. The giant sword embedded itself into a nearby tree and a man appeared on the handle. He was wearing shinobi pants and sandals, but no upper body coverings. Like Kakashi, he also had a face mask on, his consisting of thin strips of material. Momochi Zabuza, demon of the hidden mist. Kakashi said aloud, though to no one in particular. I'm honored you know me, copy Nin, Kakashi Zabuza coolly replied. The three genin tensed ready for a fight. No, you three, guard Tazuna. This one is in league far above the others. He instructed his genin. I'm going to need this. He continued, lifting up his headband and revealing his Sharingan eye. The Sharingan? How did he get that? No Uchiha I can ever remember would ever willingly part with it. It was a matter of pride for them that the Sharingan stay within the Uchiha clan. Sasuke was genuinely shocked. He had never expected his sensei's covered eye socket to contain a Sharingan eye. Kakashi, I've been hired to kill that man. Care to step aside? Zabuza tested his luck, knowing that Kakashi was hired to protect Tazuna. Sorry, no deal. Kakashi firmly answered, before entering a defensive stance. Didn't think so, though I thought I would at least show some courtesy to another professional. The words were barely out of his mouth before he appeared in the middle of the defense formation Naruto, Sasuke and Sakura had set up. Before he could do any damage he was quickly taken out by Kakashi with a kunai to his side. Where blood was leaking out they only saw water. Mizu Bunshin, Kakashi mused out loud. A moment later Kakashi was cut cleanly in two, only to burst into water as Zabuza had done. Zabuza then found himself with a kunai to his neck. I win, Zabuza. Not quite, Kakashi. Zabuza said as he swung his Zanbatsu, Kubikiri Hocho, to Kakashi's neck.